live.
And we're live. All right, episode 60, GhettoRig. Welcome
Let's
back,
go.
guys. We're just going to continue on our conversation about how some of us can sit and how much some of us can't sit.
For example, Eddie right now.
I can't see. The way I'm sitting right now, I find it comfortable, but it does, like, for example, when I go to get up, it'll hurt my knee a little bit for, like, at first extending it. And maybe when I walk around for 2 minutes. And also, I'll get where my legs fall asleep. So if I sit like this, or if I do crisscross both legs, they'll fall asleep, and that's annoying.
And then that's when you got to switch legs and do the same thing.
I usually like this one will fall asleep, and I'll switch.
Yep.
And then sometimes it sucks because you're sitting like this, and then you got to get up. Like my mom calls me, oh, the food's ready, or go do this, and I'm like, give me a second. My leg is dead asleep, and it hurts.
You got to start waking it up, slapping it a little bit.
Talking about sitting, apparently, this guy took to U.S. lawmakers that economy seats on planes are too cramped.
What's up, folks?
And they might get rid of the economy seats, right?
Yeah.
Now here's the kicker. So about 10 years ago, my brother and I, we flew to Europe, and we flew with Norwegian. And Norwegian had this plane was brand new. You could tell it was brand new. You know how, like, older planes, it's not white anymore. It's kind of yellow.
Yeah, or gray where the white used to be.
Yeah.
Because how dirty it gets.
This thing was ultra bright white. You know what I mean? When they turned the
new.
lights off, it was still bright inside the plane. You know what I mean? That's how white this thing was.
It was absorbing light?
Yeah, it was absorbing light. So the seats were even smaller than what we have in a United States domestic flights. Right? They were super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's one of the most uncomfortable freaking seats I've ever sat on. And that was a 12-hour flight. It was terrible.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. But the seats were even smaller than what we have. So begs the question there's two questions that I have. Number one question, if this does pass, are the tickets prices going up? Because that means that airplane companies have to invest into new seats, and they're going to only transport less people.
I just took a flight recently when I went to DR and stuff. And I realized, like, man, you can't even stand up where the seats are, because the seat in front of you is so close. Like, you're basically, like, the area where they want you to sit is perfectly carved out for someone that's sitting, right? So, like, for you to even walk into, like, if you're in the center seat or in the window seat, like, to get in there is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little bit of a bigger dude, so, like, it's uncomfortable for me. And, like, when we first landed, bro, like, I think I told the story, like, there was no AC on the fucking plane. And
there was no AC on the plane?
Not no AC. The AC was like working at like 30%.
Okay.
That's the rating I would give it. There was some AC, but it was basically close to none, right? Like, and so we got on the plane, right? This is on the way back. We got on the plane. It's hot as fuck. And then the captain even said, the pilot even said, I know it's hot.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah. It's gonna cool down once we turn on the engines and we get in the air and da-da-da-da. The AC will like work.
They
harder,
always say that,
right?
bro. They always say that,
bro. It worked. It got a little better just because you're in the air, so it's cold as fuck, and so it got a little better. And it was still like I would consider a hot flight though. And then we land around 9:30 a.m., 9:20, and this motherfucker goes, so the immigration isn't open yet, so we're gonna keep you guys on the plane till 10 until they open.
Wow.
And bro, it was bad. I don't know if your mic is on, Alex. I saw your mouth moving in here. Anything? Okay, never mind. Yeah, it was bad, man. Like, I was sitting there and I just started to get like, cause we landed and
you
we
could
landed.
probably smell like the person all the way in front of the plane.
It wasn't that bad, but we landed and we landed early, so I'm like, I'm hyped. Like, we get off the plane early. I've been up since 3 a.m. We went to sleep at 2:30. So I was so ready to get off the fucking plane, and it was hot. And then the motherfucker took about 30 minutes. I was telling him, like, I'd rather stand in the cold airport for the 30 minutes than sit here in this fucking heat.
Yeah.
It was nice, though. They were right, though. Immigration had not opened, and there was nobody there. And so when we went in, there was no line. Like, close to zero line, basically.
That's why I like the aisle seats. Like, a lot of people, I want the window seat because I get to see things out of the window. I hate the window seats. Aisle seats are the best.
Only reason I like the window seat, or I would just like to have someone that I know that's in the window seat, is so when I can tell them to shut the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been stuck on flights where I'm in the middle or the aisle, and I'm trying to go to sleep. It's early as fuck, and some motherfucker doesn't want to close it. Yeah. Or, like, for example, on the way back from this flight, actually, the guy in front of me, I guess maybe he never flown before or something. He was astonished. Every few minutes he was opening it and looking, and I was like, bro, close that shit. I'm trying to sleep. And it's just bright as hell.
So
what's up, bro?
The aisle seat. I'm gonna give away some game out here. Here's the hack on an aisle seat. A lot of people know this, but some don't. So what you do is you reach like where you have the hand, like the handle is, yeah, right, the armrest. If you reach far back in that little 90-degree angle where it connects to the frame, there's a button. You push that button and that thing pops up. When that thing pops up, you can shove your leg out and let it drop on your leg. So when stewardess is coming around, they thinking that thing is locked in place. They're not saying anything to you, but your leg is all comfortably out, yeah, so you can actually spread out.
Yeah, because a lot of times that outside one will be like fixed.
Fixed, yeah. Right. And the reason it's fixed because it doesn't have a button right here. But the button is inside underneath.
You know what I noticed though?
That's 80% of the time, not always.
I was about to say because we were flying Spirit, right? In Spirit, they don't have the button for you leaning back or nothing like that. So that shit's just the outside one. Actually, you can move it, and they force you to put it down when we're like taking off or landing. Yeah. But you can put it up during the flight. So
that's what I'm saying.
Be able to do that
80% of the 80% of the flight, 80% of the planes, you're gonna have that where you can pop it open. Well, anyway, the second part of that thing was, so if they're going to change it, whether the plane prices are going to go up, number one, right? Because they can't transport, so they have to, like, you know.
Are they going to have to, like, and that's crazy, too, because what's going to happen, right? They're going to have to modify all these planes and all this stuff, right? Like, how's that going to work for the industry?
So either get brand new seats, you know.
And then how's it going to work? How's it going to work, like, if, like, to cycle them out, right? Like, are they going to have certain planes that they're allowing them to use still with the old seats, and maybe they're putting them at a discount, I think what's gonna happen, something? Like, how's it going to work, right? Because there's going to have to be a period of time where there's still some planes with the newer ones, right? Like that meet the standard, and there's probably some planes that don't, right? That are still functioning.
I think what's going to happen, they're going to move the seats up because I think they're on rails. So they're going to just unscrew it and move them up a little bit. Just give that extra couple of inches and tighten it down and take out one row. Take out one row.
Either literally one.
Well, either they're
probably a couple. Probably
yeah, they're going to make the space they need. 1 to 3 rows, which 1 to 3 rows, like you're looking at between 6 at the minimum and a maximum of 20 people. So 20 people at $300, you're looking at about $6,000. So that $6,000 is going to have to be spread out along all the people. But I bet you here, they're not going to spread it out evenly. They're going to spread it out like more because now they can carry less people, so they can charge more, right? Like normal person is not going to really do the calculations.
My sister booked a flight a little bit ago. Oh, so they had to do the whole thing with my dad's passport, right? Because they didn't get here on time when we were going to the Argentine. Excuse me. And when she booked the flight and canceled the old one, blah blah, she saw that like the breakdown of how they charge you, right? Like the actual breakdown through their system, I guess somehow. And bro, like the flight was listed for like $30 something. Yeah. And then like the other $260 is a bunch of fees and taxes and bullshit that they add on. And it's like the flight itself costs $40.
Yeah.
Like
that's why there's legislation coming forward for like the cruises, hotels, and all that, like all the hospitalities to be like flat rate. You break down what everything is. The customer gets to see all that. Like, so no hidden fees, no resort fees for no resorts. Like, if that passes or not, we'll see. I mean, airlines already overbook seats when they're cramming you in like sardines.
And also airlines are known. They're known to be a loss leader.
So
like they're known to not make any money.
It costs so much to do what they have to do now with all the regulations put in place, right? Like to make sure they're doing everything up to par. I get
not even before that. Like a lot of the the reason a lot of the airline companies come in and then they go bankrupt is because airline companies are kind of like a sports teams. They're a way of like writing shit off. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, they're in a way losing money.
Yeah, they're losing money at all times, right? So it's a good way for somebody to write things off if they own a part of the air company.
Like Alex mentioned, right? They do overbook flights, and I've seen that happen, and it's crazy. Like Emily, one time she was going on vacation with her family, and her whole family had like, I guess so. You know how when you book your flight, like they'll give you the option where you can pay a little more up front, to where you can pick your seat, or you don't pay the fee, right? And then when you get to the airport and you check in, that's when they kind of assign you wherever there's open. Mm-hmm. And so they had it set up like that, where they just got there and set it up. They didn't pay the fee up front. And when they got there, everybody had their seat except for Emily. And this was like before me and Emily met, so she was probably like no more than
14, 15.
She's I met Emily when she was 13, so 13, 12, 11 years old.
Pause.
So, man, I was literally, I had just turned 15.
They were both children.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So it's funny too because when I turned,
you were
8,
not with her, right?
Huh?
At that time, you were not with her until she turned 18, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. So, anyways, she didn't have a seat, and they ended up telling her like, "Oh, we'll compensate another flight, blah blah. We're overbooked, and everybody's checked in." And they like basically were saying like everybody else is going, but Emily has to stay, and they're like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" And like, "Are you guys serious?" And there was some guy that like a father of a family that offered to stay from another family so Emily could go. And like I guess they gave the guy some kind of compensation. I guess the compensation was worth it to him, probably like $200 or some shit like that. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll meet you guys there tomorrow in a few hours or whatever."
So apparently, if if it's not predicted, like if it's not technical issues or weather, if you get to wait more than like I think an hour or 2 hours for your flight, they have to like reimburse you 200%. If it's more than 3 hours, I don't know the exact hours. If more than 3 hours, they have to reimburse you 400%.
Really?
Yeah. So there's this rule there too, but it's very technical
on how you go about it.
Yeah, but
I actually took advantage. They actually did legit break my fucking luggage, right? So on the way back from DR, I pick up my luggage from the thing, and there's actually I'll send it in the Discord. We can show it. 3 like huge cracks on the luggage and like 4 other small, like 2 or 3 other small cracks. And we sent the pictures in. They're supposed to be sending me $180. I'm waiting on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was supposed to get more.
Let me guess, you're not buying luggage, huh, for the 180.
I'll buy the luggage when I go on vacation again. Or I'll use one of the old ones here. Like, I got that luggage a long time ago as a gift from, I think it was my mother or my sister when we were going on vacation, right? Like, I needed a new set, and they were just like, "Here, we bought these for you." It's a nice Nautica set.
So the second question I had is the first world or Western world getting too big?
The whole entire world's getting big.
What do you mean too big? Too
much
much
big
people?
Meaning no. Meaning like they're getting too big, meaning like weight wise. They're getting too big. That's why they're not fitting in a seat. And they don't have enough space. Because
I heard something the other day about this woman was
she's
suing
airline
or something like that because she couldn't fit in a seat.
Yeah, she was saying that's discrimination against fat people.
Yeah,
that's all that body positivity nonsense.
I don't know, man. I know some people that what do? Because they too big, they buy their multiple seats.
Like, that's what you have to do,
right? Like
that's what the seats are. You know what I mean? Like, what else are you supposed? Like, she was complaining that she couldn't pass through the aisle because she was too big.
Look at the little rat. Look at the little rat.
Since last tested,
Chloe,
in 2000, for the past 20 years, obesity in adults has raised from 4.7 to 9.2%.
So,
about 40% of the population in America is obese.
That's the obesity raise. But look up how many people in the United States are overweight, and then what's the percentage of people overweight, and what's the percentage of people that are obese. And that's going to blow your mind. I think something crazy like 70% of the people in the United States are overweight, which breakdown is like 40 to 30% or something like that. Women are higher than men.
Who says 40% of adults are overweight and 13 is obese?
There we go. So it's a crazy ass number. Crazy ass number, right?
Let's take a look here.
So the question is,
that's some nice luggage.
Are we getting, like, if half of the population is too big?
They found that Nautica at the TJ Maxx on special. I mean, no, I bought it off Nautica's website. Sorry. But yeah, they fucked my shit up. Like, that crack is like completely through the plastic. All the cracks are all the way through the plastic, and then they cracked it over here on the side too. And I was kind of worried because from what I've heard, some people say you have to like claim it right away at the airport, like go right away to the desk and tell them like, "Yo, look, this happened." And Emily was saying that it said something about that in the claim, but they still said they were gonna send me some money.
Nice. So yeah, so what I'm trying to say now,
getting too big.
people getting too big.
I mean, the portions here tell you like a major thing, right? Like our portion size compared to other countries.
Well, and you know what I've noticed? They don't have the super size me anymore.
The super size me anymore?
Yeah, from McDonald's.
Yeah, so what I've also noticed in the United States, we like good food, but as long as there's a lot of it. Like, we don't really care whether we're getting quality ass food or not quality ass food. We just
as long as it's decent and we got a lot.
Yes, you get a lot. Where like in other countries, it's like, okay, well, I'm getting this delicious food. It's like something unique, and it doesn't have to be a lot because I get to eat whatever they give me, right? Like, I don't need it to be a lot.
But I feel like, for example, like I just was in DR, right? So in DR, it's both though, right? Like everybody eats a lot of this what we would consider quality food, right? Like home cooked food, quality stuff. But they eat a lot too.
But then they also, remember, in DR, they move around a lot more and they exert a lot more energy than we do out here.
Oof, and it's hot as fuck. They all walk around in pants and long sleeve, like button ups. They walk around like pretty formally.
Yeah, and they walk around a lot because the public transportation is huge. There's a lot of walking around.
Yeah. It's a lot of like you getting around through carpool, like drop me off there, okay, I move here, drop me off there.
Exactly, because so that's what we have in the United States. We just have cars, right? Like majority of us have
like,
cars.
The guys that worked on my uncle's property out in Villa Altagracia in the mountains, we'll take a look at chat in a second. The guys that work there, they're all like skinny as
and
hell.
They probably eat what, once a day?
No, they eat 2 or 3 times a day. Usually, like for example, anytime we would eat, they would eat with us too. Right now, with us, but they would also eat the same food at the same time usually. Bro, but I mean like big Rasputia fucking sized plates of food, like, and these guys are this big, but it's that they're moving around all fucking day.
Yeah, because they're doing shit all day long.
They work
climbing up trees.
They probably work from
trees
8:30, 9 in the morning, easy to probably 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. They're running around still doing shit, moving, like going back into the city to grab stuff, coming back, killing chickens, hunting down river crabs. Like,
yeah,
these guys are doing everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't move around. So basically what we're doing, we're consuming a lot of calories in and little calories out.
So real quick in chat, we'll take a look. So
probably Thursday, Calvin.
Video is glitching a little bit. Okay.
Is a little shit in here?
No. Well, she was for a second. Is Chloe in here? Is she there next to you, Miguel? No. So video is glitching. It looks fine on my side right now. Thank you for letting me know, Emily.
I think maybe at the beginning there was a little bit of internet lag, but no drop frames.
Got you. So it's probably just internet, not the computer. That's good. Oh, Emily, if you're coming, Arthur has your dad's watch. Oh, Calvin says sounds right. Eddie, when is the wipe? Like Alex said, it's probably gonna be Thursday. Calvin, they're known for doing their wipes on Thursday. Apparently, that's what. Why that day? Like I'm saying right now. So why that day? They're known for doing their wipes on Thursday. I don't know why. So everybody predicted 6 months and
because they know Calvin has to work, and they said,
Thursday,
"Fuck that guy."
Now y'all need to talk about a little more what the wipe is, because
what we're talking about is Tarkov like.
Okay,
day.
it's a game.
Yeah, so
they're wiping
they wipe the servers every 6 to 5 months or so often.
So everyone starts from the get.
Everyone starts from level 1, all over again. Everybody. They usually
shit.
add new content and like new guns or new missions, or they even
which probably makes them fucking earn so much money because people with money gonna spend.
And the part about the game is it's sadly a little bit of pay to win. Not really pay to win, but it's pay to
have a leg up on everyone else.
Yeah, in a sense where you can have more inventory space from the get. You can
do that with more guns.
Oh yeah. So for example, like the way the game works, right? Escape from Tarkov is a realistic extraction shooter. What I mean, extraction shooter is like you go into this big ass map, and there's a bunch of other players and also like NPCs, which are like AI bots on the map, and you try and go in and loot certain things. You have missions to go about, whether it be killing players, killing bosses, killing normal bots, and you try and get out. Like you have certain points you have to go on the map to extract. Some extractions are weird, like you need money, or you can't have a backpack, or you can't have a armor on. It's weird, right? Like for example, like There's one that's like a manhole, right?
Why? Because they're putting you into
because they try
airplane
making
seats
it,
that are too small where your vest will
yeah,
fit.
right. Like it's almost like that, right? Because it is like you're too small, like you're too big to fit through there. So like for example, the manhole extract, you can't have a backpack on because you can't fit through that manhole with your backpack supposedly or whatever. And then this extraction shooter is really realistic. And if you start, like for example, you pay $40 for the basic version of the game, and you get the basic inventory and the basic starter guns. There's a bunch of different versions you can buy, ranging from 40, I think, then 60, then like 80 or 90, and then 140. And as you go buying each version, you get more space in your inventory, which is like drastically more space as you each buy one. And then you also, when you start off on wipe, you get additional like starter gear, because when you start on wipe on like the basic version of the game, they give you like guns, basic armor, like basic, very very basic shit.
Oh, so that you just, as long as you paid it once, that's all. You don't pay it every 6 months.
No, I don't. You don't pay. Yeah.
Okay. I thought every 6 months they're like
No, you pay $40 to $140, and then like every wipe you get your specialty shit. It's just you start back from one.
That would be smart for them, where everybody pays, let's say, $40, and then throughout every 6 months, now you can upgrade or downgrade, and this.
I mean, you can upgrade it any time, but yeah.
Yeah, but then once you upgrade it, that's what you're gonna have for the next one.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Like every time you upgrade, you need to pay for the new upgrade.
No. So
that would generate a bunch of money for them.
And the way they did it was really cool. So like for example, some games, like if they offer specific DLC packages, kind of like that's how you have to think about it with Tarkov, right? DLC packages with certain versions of the game. Like for example, if you bought like the Call of Duty, the basic version, and then you wanted to get the stuff that comes with the DLC version, a lot of times you'd have to go buy that DLC version if it's a specific thing to when you buy the full game, right? Tarkov isn't like that. If you buy the $40 version and then you want to upgrade, you just pay the difference for the next one, and then the difference for the next one. And that's what I've done over time to then get to like the biggest version, because I didn't know if I was gonna like the game or not. So I'm not gonna go pay 140 up front, right? So like I played, and then I was like, oh, okay, I like it, and then I did stop playing for a while. When I got back into it, I upgraded to the next one. And then I realized, I'm going to keep playing this probably for a while. And so the inventory space is worth it. It's annoying, though, because they kind of tease you with it. Because you can get the big inventory space by even if you pay the normal game. But you would have to do it every wipe. And it's really hard. You have to go through a bunch of missions and upgrade your hideout. Because you have like a hideout area that you can craft stuff. The game is really, 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 really in-depth.
Cool. Now, I had another subject. What you want to do? Self-deletion, assisted self-deletion first, or you want to do arranged marriages?
The assisted.
Assisted self-deletion. Cool. So assisted self-deletion. So Colombia, the country. Now y'all know I study Spanish with the teacher, and I was talking to her, and she said that they finally approved assisted self-deletion. The way this came around, this was this lady that was terminally ill, and she wanted to do that, but the government wasn't allowing, so on and so forth. She took it to the courts, and they just approved it last year in October, and she was finally able to self-delete, basically, not long ago.
So this was one of those things that they approved due to the fact that someone was in court fighting this because they wanted to go
Correct.
about said thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and this is, allowed in many countries. Not many countries. It's allowed in few countries. In most of the countries, it's not. In United States, in the 80s, there was this big case of a Dr. Kevorkian that was doing this on a down low, and he got arrested. His medical license got taken away, so on and so forth. Now, the two sides of this are, number one is like, well, the person wants to self-delete, right? Like, it's totally up to them what they want to do, right? And then the second side of this is, well, the law comes in and says, well, that's fine. You want to do that. That's great. However, if somebody assists you with it, that's considered assisting in murder, right? Like, that's why it's against the law. Now, what y'all guys think about that?
It's a little weird, right? Because what my thing is like, what does this whole problem stem from, right? Because like I'm trying to just look at like why, like in my head though, my first question is like, why do these people want to do this, right? And I don't know. I don't think it's.
I don't think the why is that much important. They want to do it. They want to do it. It is what it is. For whatever reason it is.
I think it is a little important. I think it. Has
so if it was like open, like had no stipulations, like in Futurama, the suicide or the deletion booth, that you just go in, pop in some quarters, and then it stabs you to death. Like, that would be one thing. Like, why do you want to do that, right? Is this something you really want to do? Is this something you really want to go through with? Like, or is this just a feeling at the time, That I would agree with needs like counseling first, and then like we can see if there's a path or maybe medicine, and if not, you want to go through it then.
Well,
but like terminally ill and shit like that.
But I feel like there shouldn't be that. And then it's fine. Like I feel like there shouldn't be that it's fine at all. Like right, I don't know that's just me.
Hey, if someone wants to kill themselves, they gonna do it.
I get that. I get that. And that's my other question though. Is at the same time is if you really wanted to do this, you're gonna do it anyways. Now, so I guess that's where this comes in, right? Like let's just maybe assist these people to go through like in a.
It saves their family members from finding a body, like. You know?
Well, there's the doctor's oath, right? Like every doctor takes the oath. I think it's called
do no harm.
But basically, don't kill someone, right? Yeah. So technically,
the Hippocratic oath.
Hippocratic oath. So technically, what that's doing is killing someone, right? So the point here is like I'm like the why for me is not that important because if you have to go through these steps like to the counseling, this and that, the third, the fourth, eventually you're gonna get a resolution at the end of this, right? Like you're gonna figure it out whether you want it or not want it. That's the easy part. But the second part for me is more interesting, where it says, well, that's fine. You want to go through this, but no one can assist you with this, right? Because if they assist you with this, now this becomes murder, like, and you're assisting someone, and you're physically doing the murder. Right, because you're providing everything.
You are taking the life of that person.
You're taking a life, right? So now this is punishable by law. So where
are the few?
Unless you go out by cop guns, and then that's different.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story.
Real quick before I forgot, because I noticed she passed through in the gamer. Didn't Tot start shout out Tot? Didn't she start like a YouTube channel or something like that? I saw the other day.
Like she has one
making stuff. Okay, send it to us. We'll shout it out in the chat to our 6 viewers.
But yeah, she be making like body butters and fucking lotions and all that shit.
So real quick, I just didn't want to forget again because I saw her.
So where do you think this whole legality thing comes in versus somebody that's going through the whole thing and saying, well, they've gone through all the steps. It is what it is. Somebody has to push the button, right? But even if I provide everything that needs to be provided and they push the button, I'm technically under the law assisting this person, and technically I'm part of it, right?
So there would have to be a system in place for all of this, right? Like laws to be passed in a very, very this is my goddamn dog. Fits through anything. Then I think what would be the hardest thing is regularly finding people that would be okay with doing that, like be okay with setting that person up to press that button.
I mean, they don't have issues finding people that push the button in the prisons for capital punishment. You know what I mean? They don't have no issues with that. So I don't think there's going to be issue finding a person. It's the issue.
I think so. When it's these people saying they want to die.
Yeah, because we have capital punishment. That's legal. And the persons in prison, they push the button and there's nothing that happens to them because they're under the law. They're allowed to do this.
That's what I mean. I think that's why I'm saying they would have to be a full system put in place where it's systematically done by the government, everything top to bottom, to make it to where there is no repercussions through the law.
But we all know that the government is terrible at getting their ducks in a row. And, it's usually...
But where do you think people are going to look at and try and attack the system? Like who? Who's if like a family, someone's family?
No, it's not the family. I think it's just the rules in place where it has to be that's exactly what it has to be. It has to be a government person that does this, because with capital punishment, remember this goes through court proceedings. There's long, drawn out court proceedings, and then they arrive at this, and then there's still people will be on death row for 10 years, going back and forth, and that's when they only push the button. It's a very long drawn out where. No matter what it is, if the person is terminally ill and they only have like 6 months to live, like they don't have the time. They're gonna be long gone by the time they get approved with a 10-year, or you know what I'm saying, by the time it goes through court proceedings. So we obviously know the government cannot get their ducks in a row properly to execute this, right? So it needs to be done by medical professionals, and medical professionals taking an oath not to do it. So what is it? A license that you take out, like a 8 months course?
No,
to
what
push
you
a button?
actually,
You
I
know
feel like
what
what
I
you
mean?
actually need to do is find somebody who's not gonna get in trouble for doing that. Just go to like your local Crip or Blood member and hire them to kill you.
Wear the wrong color.
Exactly. You can wear the wrong color in LA.
Wait, why would you hire them to kill you when it's so easy just to piss someone off and get shot these days?
That too.
Now,
that
I was
too.
thinking about this as well. Now, when does this become, well, he wanted to die. He told me this in privacy.
Guys,
and
in the
that's
chat,
why
you'll
I
find
executed.
Alex's wife's channel there. Go check that out.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, talking about the gang shootings, right? Or any other shooting. When did this becomes, like, well, they told me in privacy that they wanted to die and they wanted me to assist them with it. This is why I shot them. But
Yeah,
in
you'd
reality,
never-
it's something completely
You would,
different.
yeah, you would never
That-
be able to get that passed, right? Even if someone did
Why
come
not?
up to you and no, man, like you would have to have that on recording, and even then, they would probably still could get you for like coercion and stuff like that.
But you get good enough lawyers, good enough money, you're getting off that.
You
I
gotta
mean,
have
you
some
got
money.
good enough lawyers. You
get off
can
anything,
get out of
right?
anything.
Yeah, but now this is another reason for somebody that committed a murder to get out of murder. You know what I mean? So I think it opens so many doors that it's
No, this could
it's a
never be
difficult
something
question.
that they allowed. Just like, oh, that someone told me that I could kill them, so I did it. No, that could never be. That could never be
Yeah.
a thing, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It probably has to be performed by a
It's
medical
like yeah, like we're
or
talking
under
about.
It's like
medical
you're about to
This would
fight
have to be something
somebody
that
and you're
was
just like, fight me,
systematic.
fight me. All right.
Systematically broke down by the government. A bunch of regulations probably being put in place
Yeah, but
for
but
you know, like
but
we're
that's
like
what
we
I'm
were
saying.
saying.
The
a
real
month-
question is,
a month
how would
of
they delete you?
counseling.
That's what I'm saying, because like there was
The
this
same way as they do prisoners.
there
right?
was
Like,
this infamous
the-
case.
But that's horrific.
Yeah.
Like, the lethal injection only seems calm because they give you a thing that literally paralyzes your body.
Yeah.
You feel everything
Yes.
Really,
as the person
I
dying.
thought they gave
And there
you
was
like
this-
crazy amount of drugs to where you don't feel shit.
No.
Well, in the
No.
U.S., we still have execution by what is it, a firing squad? So
Yes, we do in Texas.
What do you prefer?
Oh,
Injection,
saying- oh,
injection,
well,
or
everyone-
firing squad?
Well,
I'd
there
say
was
the
this-
firing squad.
Do you
At
get to
this
smoke?
point-
Do you get to get like a white blindfold and
At
cigarette
this
while
point,
they shoot
if
at you?
what I'm hearing is how it is, you know, like I thought you didn't feel shit, but if you're just paralyzed so you can't move, but you're just feeling
Yeah.
all of this, oh man, no. What is that feeling? What is that like? What is
Pain and
So-
Pain where? You know what I mean? Pain where? What does it shut
It's
down?
poison. They give you poison.
I
It
know, but-
literally paralyzes you. Then they so that the people watching don't watch you stroke and fucking
Yeah.
die.
But what is the thing shutting down? Like, is it clotting blood? Is it shutting down?
They're
a
shutting
specific
down all your
organ?
organs, bro. They give you
It's,
huge
it's
amounts of
literally
poison.
just shutting down. It's paralyzing you basically. Like you can't move. Like it's shutting down your nerve. It's not really shutting down your nervous system, just like your motor function. It's
Well,
almost like a massive horse pill.
And then there's
That's
also
just knocking you, like not knocking you out, because they want you to suffer. But when they give you the second injection, that's like fire into your veins. Like apparently, there was a couple of people that survived lethal injection.
that's what I
and
was
they
gonna go. This couple of
described
years
after.
ago, there was this
Really? Your
infamous
camera's
case
out,
where
by
they
the
gave
way.
him the medicine and didn't work, so
Yeah.
people saw him like going through this agony.
There was
Yeah.
cases where the paralyzed agent didn't work. They got to see the full force. There's people that the third thing that actually shuts down your organs didn't work, and the thing that there's 3 injections. One paralyzes you. One like starts clotting up your veins with fucking shit, and the third one basically shuts everything down.
Why do they do it like that? I thought they're not supposed to. I thought
That's
they're not
supposedly
allowed.
the most humane way, because before that it was electrocution
I
chairs.
get it, but I thought they're supposed to do this and not make you suffer in a sort of humane fashion. Can't they just like? I feel that they have the science to do it in a more
in a way-
humane
think,
fashion.
think about it this way. I'm gonna go into an extreme, but you got all these 89-year-old ladies that've been popping Vicodins like it's Skittles. Like their tolerance
Bro,
to this
I don't fucking
medicine
know.
is so high. You
Like,
know what I mean?
Just douse them with oxy. I don't fucking know.
I get you're saying. I get you're saying that
just
the
give
purpose.
him a whole IV, like triple, like or quadruple the fucking dose, and just so they don't feel shit at least. You know what I mean? That's
I get what you're saying, but when you give somebody the death penalty, isn't that low key not low key, high key, the highest punishment that you can give them? That you probably want them to suffer.
At the same time,
nah, bro, you don't want them to suffer. Like the most.
So you're telling me, let's say,
okay, so let's say,
so you're telling me a person who probably, for example, one of the school shooters shouldn't be killed and he shouldn't suffer?
No, I think they have a lot of mental issues. I think they have a lot of mental issues.
I don't think anybody has the right to go and grab anybody and torture them and make them feel actual physical pain.
I mean, it's not torture. You're not coming back after this, my boy.
Yeah, well,
from what it
if
sounds
you're
like,
very unlucky.
From what it sounds like, some of them have.
Yeah.
And
those are just statistically anomalies, right?
I get that.
These aren't like massive cases.
But the fact that they're going through that pain at all. Even like that's the thing.
But there's no other way.
It's just better presented, right? Because you're sitting there watching a dude literally get electrocuted to where his eyes pop out, his brain melts out of his mouth. Like that's not something you want to see. Like the general populace would be, yes, fuck him, fuck that prisoner for what he did. But you see that shit changes you. Bro. So we're like, let's paralyze him and then try to kill them chemically.
I would understand the paralyzing, but I feel like they should paralyze you. And also give you a full bottle of Valium. Like, they need a fucking... Shit,
I mean, we have drugs out there that just cut off, like, your brain's able to stop breathing. You may stroke out, but if they paralyze you, people won't see it. But why give them that? Because they're prisoners.
Or put them to sleep. Just, you know what I mean? Like, all these drugs I'm talking about would just put them to sleep.
Okay, right? let's work on a solution here, Eddie. How about we put them to sleep? And then we get a sledgehammer and just fucking right in their fucking head.
No, nobody.
So they're not gonna feel a thing. They're not gonna feel a thing.
Nobody wants to be the wielder.
Think about this. So think about this. So let's say it's a drug addict that's been using, let's say, heroin direct into the vein for years, right? And then they commit some sort of a crime that is capital punishment, right? And they have to put him, like the amount of heroin they have consumed has raised their level of tolerance so high.
But only to heroin.
Yeah, but this is still a drug, right? Like that messes with your system. So you don't know how these drugs are going to counteract with each other.
Or how your body's going to take it. It matters, though, because, so for example, look at me switching my legs like I was talking about. Different drugs, all these different drugs use different receptors in your brain, right? And these receptors over time.
I don't know the technical, like the medical, what
it is. So
but what I'm trying to say is like people overdose on drugs, right? Like, but most of the time you see them choking on their own spit, like there's foam coming out of their mouth.
What I'm trying to say is if you have someone that is a very bad heroin addict or very bad crack addict, or even if they maybe are a really bad
well, it messes with your dopamine receptors. Number one, I know that.
It does.
I know what cocaine
does. So it will affect maybe the way they feel a little bit, right? Like on other drugs, because they have this high tolerance of feeling so good off of something like heroin, right? But their body still will not have the same reaction, right? Like you give someone a whole bottle of Valium or morphine or something like that, they're gonna die, right? Like it doesn't matter.
They'd use Fent. Fent would be
right.
Probably the easiest
amount, right? You could do the smallest amount.
Well, it still takes a lot of Fent.
I don't know, man. That sounds like too good of a way to die.
Does it really take that a lot? I don't know, man.
So there's a lot of propaganda out there where you can inhale it or touch it, but
no, not necessarily.
It takes a good amount of Fent to kill you.
But I heard this one about I think I've told it here on the pod. I think the girl that wanted to just like sleep well before her exams. She wasn't someone who took drugs at all, and she got like a pill and took a quarter of it. And it was laced with fentanyl, and she like OD'd and died. So like, how much does it really take though? Like that's just a quarter of whatever.
Well, that's her, right?
Right.
That's her.
I get it's her, but a lot of people are dying off of small amounts.
Well, there's no doubt the fentanyl has been like the number one killer right now. Yeah. The fentanyl that's coming in. The reason it's been number one killer because it takes less amount, so you don't have to transport as much. Like cocaine, you have to transport in tons, where you can just do 1 kilo of fentanyl. That's plenty enough.
Yeah, you just cut it with a bunch of other shit.
Yeah,
right?
and
you
call it a day, right?
Product.
But the point is, even with the drugs, let's say if they gave him a good amount of fentanyl, that's still gruesome death. Like they're foaming out of the mouth, there's still convulsions and things like that. This is when people stab you with a Narcan. to bring you back, right? Like, because they can physically see you're like going into
Look, man, if they can just put you to sleep, wouldn't that do it right there?
It still would. Your body would still, like, because your autonomic system would still, like, the reason you're breathing, you're sleeping, right? Like, you're not thinking about breathing, but you're breathing because your autonomic system makes your muscles, like involuntary muscles, work. So you still have involuntary muscles that are gonna work.
Yeah, but it's only like those things like that are necessary, and so your body, when you're sleeping, you're essentially already paralyzed, right?
So
that's like when you have like the only thing that isn't that for some reason, and I don't think they know why, but your eyes are the only thing that move around still when you're sleeping. That's why like when you're dreaming, your eyes move around, but the rest of your body still, right? That's to keep you running out of your bed. The best way I can
explain. I ain't still. I fucking toss and turn like a rotisserie.
Yeah,
chicken,
but when you every time
I know what you say.
Go to turn when you're sleeping, you wake up for that split second to move yourself, and then you instantly fall back into sleep.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, like the best way I can describe it is like your autonomous system for, like, involuntary muscles, like your boner muscle. It's an involuntary muscle. You cannot exercise it. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's your bicep. You know
exercise?
What I mean? No exercise for that, bro.
No.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't
work. They say there are exercises you can do, but like the general consensus is that there's no proven exercise that actually aids and helps. Because it's an involuntary response, right? It's an involuntary muscle.
All I'm saying is that if these guys say that it's like a dragon breathing fire into their blood, I think there's a more humane way to go about it. That's all.
I mean, in my opinion, especially for the highest crimes, I think life in prison is a better punishment than killing them.
Yeah, but then you have life in prison, but then you have the taxpayers that are footing out the bill for someone.
Death row actually costs a lot more for taxpayers than
what the
people in regular, because they have to have solitary confinement, they have to have like special conditions,
and usually lasts like 10 to 20 years before they even are in death row. So there's many questions, obviously, like with that one, and I don't know, but the point here, that coming back to like the whole assisted self-deletion, I don't know, man. I don't know how you would do that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, doctors know what to give you. Looking at your medical history, they know what to give you. Like, all right,
assisted suicide is what he's talking about.
Yeah, so like, doctors know what to give you to do that. Now, here's the thing where all that's like the technicality, right? Like, now you're talking about the moral part, right? Like, how does that sound like when you're self-deleting, but your family's like, bro, I could have had another month with you. I know you're suffering, but I could have had a month with you.
No, not only that, the mental thing. That's where I come into my issues with this. Why is this person feeling like this in the first place? And I get it, right? If they really want to do it, they're gonna do it anyways. Right?
So
it's
one
of those things.
Family friend back in Lithuania whose brother had terminal cancer, and he was in so much pain that he took a knife and drove it to his own heart.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. He took a knife, like a butcher's knife, and drove it into his own heart to stop the pain. So, like, imagine the amount of pain he was going through that he was able to take the fucking knife.
That's exactly what I thought.
Push it right through the rib cage into his own heart.
Yeah.
Like,
he didn't like jump
the amount of pain that
people
go.
Like, he actually just pushed it in.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that guy was hardcore.
Yeah. So the chemotherapy and all of these drugs, you know what I mean? Like, they like mess with your body. You're constantly sick. Like, your body's deteriorating as you see this on a minute basis, not even days or months. It's just on minute basis. Your body's deteriorating. You're losing your hair. You're using your eyelashes. Like, you cannot get up. You cannot stand up. You cannot sleep. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, like, okay, well, what about if my family wants to spend time with me? Why would I do this? You know what I mean? I think it's a little bit selfish on my part if I were to do it, because, like, taking myself away from my family, because I know there are people that love me that would want to have more time with me. At the same time, they would be like pissed at me because I didn't fight.
I thought love wasn't real, Jay.
Well, I don't think. Well, see, I want to recant that one. Like, what I meant in that conversation, we're talking about the couples. Like, I think you should have love for your woman, but never be in love with me. We can revisit that if you want.
Wait, what did you say?
We can stay on this. It's fine. What do you mean by that? You can love a woman, but you can't be in love.
Correct.
I don't.
Because
see what you mean.
I think when you do fall in love with a woman, you start making emotional choices, which in retrospect are going to hinder your ability to lead the relationship. Because to lead your relationship, you have to have a clear mind.
I don't
emotions
believe so.
usually.
You know why? I have a clear example, not necessarily like example, but I think that if sometimes you can prove that even though something might be logical, but that decision is what proves to show you have more sentimental feeling for this relationship or something that has to do with that, can instill the fact that you are more caring towards a relationship, and it actually can instill more of what you're saying, like leadership views on that person.
See, now if you have to do that, like where you have to like go out of the logic's way and say, okay, well, this is the logical decision, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this to prove that I have some sort of a sentiment towards this woman.
No, not to prove so, but because you genuinely felt like doing so.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. When you genuinely feel to do so, the reason you're feeling to do so is because you're in an emotional and not in a logical, right? Like what logical will dictate, like you need to do this because this is better for the longer term.
What I'm saying is that I feel that it could be viewed both ways.
But see, that's the thing. Like emotional choices are never good choices.
I agree with Eddie. Like sometimes you just gotta compromise. Like sometimes it's not logical to you, but you living with a whole other human being, or you're choosing to couple with a whole other being.
I get that, and this is where it comes in, where you can have love for your woman, but never be in love, and she has to love you more because then she's gonna trust your decision, even though it goes against her own emotional wants and needs.
But I feel like it also could help build a stronger relationship by, like he said, compromising.
So here's the thing.
You know, it's maybe the illogical.
In my opinion, if the woman has love and respect for you, and she respects you, she truly respects you, right? She needs you, not wants you, but she needs you. If she needs you, doesn't matter what decision you make, and if it's a logical decision, if she needs you and she respects you, she's going to go along with that.
That's what I find.
Unless you're leading the relationship into the dish, that's when she takes over.
That's when I find problems, because I feel that everybody should have their own sense of independence.
Well, see,
I don't think anyone in the relationship should feel like they need the other one, right? It should be a constant, active choice to want them in your life.
Yes,
and it needs to be reciprocated on both sides.
Yes, I disagree with that, and the reason I disagree with that is the stats are there to prove it, right? Like there's the huge divorce rate. Number one, 30% of the young population between 18 to 30 haven't had, like, they're either incels or virgins still on the man's side, and the reason it's like that because it's the lack of leadership. Because, like, for what do guys usually do? Because, like, if the girls say, "Oh, I need you to be more emotionally intelligent," so that guys become more emotionally intelligent. They become a little more on the feminine side, and what happens then? Relationships break down. So that's why I think the woman needs to need you and love you more than you love her. And in this way, everything is going to fall in place.
I think there's a billion reasons a relationship can break down, and you just making those correlations with your own feelings, you know?
No, but wait, I don't feel that way. I don't feel any way. Like,
you feel like you need to be a leader in your relationship, right?
Well, I don't feel that.
These are your own standards.
No, I don't feel that. I'm not saying that. If you ask women, on average, majority of women will say, "I want a leader in a relationship." It's not my choice. It's not my choice, or it's not my opinion. Like, this is what majority of women would say. They want to be led in a relationship. They want somebody that's going to come in there majority of the time, be a protector, leader, and provide resources.
This is not what I'm saying. Like, that. That's not what I'm trying to talk about. I'm saying that I think that nobody should have to need the other person, in the sense that you should always both have your both established independency. I get what you're saying, that women like leaders, because a lot of women are attracted to dominance, right? Like a lot of girls talk about how they like to be dominated in bed and blah blah blah, right? Like that's like a thing.
It's a biological trait.
I get it, right? But what I'm trying to say is that me and Alex were both, I think, trying to say is we don't agree with that anybody should need anybody.
No, but that's my argument. My argument is she does need you more than you need her. And only
nobody
this way
needs
they
each
fall
other.
In place.
Like, in that sense, what we're trying to say.
I mean, I agree with Lynette. That sounds like the beginning of an abusive relationship. If
now,
she
see
needs
this.
you, because,
now here,
why do you need someone to need you?
Now, here's the thing. Like we put bunch of connotations on abusive relationship. The reason this becomes abusive relationship is because a lot of times guy says, no, I don't think we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And this is now suddenly becomes an abusive relationship. I'm mental abusing, even though she's in her emotional, right? And even though she's in her emotional, and that might change literally 2 hours down the road. But at that point of time, she feels that way versus actually what's
and you
real.
Could say we're gonna do this and be completely wrong and fuck up. Like
correct, and this is where
it's a two-way street.
This is where your leadership,
which is what me and Eddie are saying. It's a give and take.
And I also believe that acting out of emotion
skills need to come in, and this is where women lose a lot of respect for men, because when they do these things and they don't calculate enough, now that it become they're full of the totem pole as a leader, and they lose the respect, and this is where the problems usually start.
I don't agree, because I think that if you look at it as a whole, right, as a woman can recognize that if anybody can make, like, for example, what I was going to get into, I believe that not only women are the only ones who get emotional in tense situations. Men also
I agree
do
with
that.
you.
And
I agree with you. When men do that, bad things happen.
Not necessarily.
Because, yes, 100%. When men do that, bad things happen. Majority of violence is caused by emotional men. So men cannot be emotional, because when men are emotional, bad things happen.
I don't believe that's necessarily true, in the sense that the way you're linking both things together.
Well, you can look at it. The prisons are full of emotional men. Because that made decisions on an emotion.
So emotional, they're willing to fuck other guys.
Made decisions on emotions. I mean, a lot of people in prison are there off of bullshit, right?
So let me reverse this. So let's say you're part of the company, right? You're a CEO. What decision do you think is going to be better for the company? The one that's logical, the one that's emotional?
No, this is not what we're talking about.
Well, no. We have to talk about
a relationship, not a business.
Correct. But if you're talking about, because I have to put it in a perspective, right? So what decision would be better for the company? A logical decision or an emotional decision?
This is not what I'm getting at. We understand that the logical decision is the logical decision. That's why it's called the logical decision. But a
relationship is built on emotions, so like you can't take that out.
A relationship is built on an emotion, but whose emotions?
And you didn't
both parties.
Listen.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
Not necessarily.
100%. 100%.
Not necessarily. There's a level of emotion that the guy usually invests into the relationship versus a girl that invests in it. This is why like the simping culture is so big, because majority of the guys that are simping on girls are because they're in their emotional. They're not thinking logically. Do you see what I'm saying? No matter how you look at, no matter how you throw it, doors open directly to the logic.
Or they have no riz.
Ready? I don't think you understood what I meant by when a man acts emotional in tense situations. What I mean is that you overreact and you get kind of mad.
That's bad. I agree with that.
No, and that's bad, right? But what I'm trying to say is that there's not necessarily a lack of respect because your women saw you get emotional in some situation.
Yes, there is.
Because if also you can come
back. It depends on how you process those emotions.
Exactly. And also,
so that's why a man should be a stoic.
This
is my point.
And you can also come back later and be able to prove yourself to say it's someone that I can know how to revise on themselves and say, hey, I'm sorry I acted this way. You know I did this and this wrong.
Yeah, but
I'll try to move on.
See what happens.
What's burning?
Yeah.
Are they
computers fuming.
No, don't say that shit.
Only over here. It's something here.
Couch?
No way.
Lights?
Oh, no way.
It's
No
in
way.
here. There's not enough.
Oh, shit. We got a fire in the studio. Hold on, let me check.
You guys smell that, right?
Yeah, I smell it.
No way.
It doesn't smell like burnt out in the rest of the house.
No, it's not like here.
Well, maybe.
Yeah,
You guys are cooking?
yeah, it smells like it.
Why didn't...
But the kitchen
I
doesn't smell
asked
like it.
I was asking if y'all...
We got all the smell. Plantains got a coat on fire.
Freaking frying plantains.
So what I'm trying to say, a guy should be a stoic.
That,
the reason a guy should be a stoic, because every time, if the girl wants you to be a leader, right? If the girl wants you to be a leader and lead this relationship, correct? So anytime you make a mistake, that's already a charge. Like if you cannot do this, how are you going to lead this relation? How are you going to protect and provide? Even though we don't need the protection and provision anymore, we're in 2023, but the biological, genetic coding of needing that in a woman's brain is still there. Like you have to look at the both sides, right? Like you have to look at the biology.
From
and
what it
also
sounds
the
like to me, which I don't agree with, but from what it sounds like to me, you're still have that. It seems like you still think that the women seem to still have that disqualifying mentality, even while they're in a long-term relationship with that man.
Women always are looking to monkey branch. Always.
But I don't believe that that's the same. That's the scenario when you're in a long-term relationship with like an established.
It is 100% the scenario. 100%.
I don't think so.
In the divorce rate, divorce rates are there to prove it. A majority of divorce rates, even though the people are saying it's the cheating, this and that, it's not the cheating, because if you take the cheating numbers...
50-50 doesn't prove really anything, you know? Like,
what,
50-50 is just... Yeah, 50-50 is sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. And that's what happens when you're in a relationship, because 50% is you, 50% is them. That's a relationship.
No. I disagree with that, because 80% of the time, these 50% of divorces are initiated by women, not by men. So it's not really 50-50. It's more like 8 out of the 50%. It's more like 40-10.
I don't know. From what I'm seeing here, divorces are a lot of art. Most of the divorces end just because of too much conflict and arguing, and lack of commitment. And from what you're saying, from what I'm hearing from you, from what it sounds like, a lot of these men just don't know how to emotionally commit. And that's where a lot of these problems are stemming from. Or
express true emotions up front, right? Like, because some people think you need to be fake for the good, however, of their relationship until you can actually be like, hey, this is me.
We actually talked about this the other day.
On average, majority of relationships and the marriages last about 8 years. On average. Some more, some less.
Really?
But on average, it's 8 years.
Well, that's just because you have these relationships that are 40 years, right? Old people, and then you have the relationships that are 2 months, right? That's where this average is also.
But the average is 8. Yet the numbers are 50% of the marriages or relationships probably more, will end up separating, and 80% of that is initiated by women. So majority of the time, women are unhappy in a relationship. Majority of the time, and one of the reasons why they're saying, well, it's the communication, it's this, it's that. But majority of the time is the loss of respect, where a woman feels like she's pulling majority of the weight, or the guy doesn't understand. Yes, it is. Because if you look at it, nowadays, a lot of the women will go to work and then come back home and still do the majority of the work, right? At home, whether it's child rearing, whether it's cooking the dinner, cleaning, so on and so forth. Some guys help, some guys don't. I get that. Now, the problem here is, what that is telling me, that the guy is not making enough money where she can spend either more time doing that at home. This sounds like your own
anecdotal analysis.
It's not anecdotal.
I agree with Lynette. They just, if they ain't feeling like they getting treated right, shit, leave. Like, you know, people make mistakes. Sometimes you legally bind yourself to someone and it don't work out.
I was trying to say before was...
So then again, it comes back to choice, right? Who gets to choose? Right?
What do you mean?
Because guys, we know that guys will smash anything and pretty much will Wi-Fi anything. Guys are pretty simple.
Anything?
Yes. Well, no, not wife anything. They won't wife anything. Guys are gatekeepers to relationships. I agree with that. But the woman, she still should say I do in order for that to happen. Correct? The guy says, will you? And she says, I do. Now, who made that choice to say I do? The woman, not the guy. If the woman says I don't, what it's going to be a marriage? No.
But it's still 50-50 because the guy had to make the choice to say, will you?
Correct. The guys keep the gatekeepers of the
relationship. And that's also a very traditionalist thought, because nowadays it doesn't really matter who asks who to marry or shit like that.
It 100% matters. It 100% matters who asks.
See, this is my thing.
Yeah, it does.
This is my thing.
I think it's going to be more of a...
You're talking a lot about, like, from what it sounds like, progressive women going out there, working, making their own money, right? Correct. Women nowadays that are trying to put their own side of traditionalist values, and that's why they don't have respect of these men. Correct. That doesn't match up to me. Because if these women are going out there and expecting to be treated equal, they know what it is to be equal, right? They're trying to be equal, and so if they're trying to
implement, they are equal.
But then you're also, from what it sounds like, you're saying that they don't respect these men because they don't instill these traditionalist values.
Correct.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It makes a whole lot of sense.
Because there's chicks on YouTube making billions of dollars buying their husbands like cars and houses. And proposing to them. And they still love the fuck out of them.
I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying the minority doesn't exist. But yet we're still coming back to the same numbers. the divorces are overwhelmingly initiated by women because women are unhappy in their relationships.
I mean, if we're talking about that, maybe because men have been told for, I don't know, ever, that they're not allowed to have emotions, and they repress that shit, not know how to process it, and women just don't want to deal with that because they've been dealing with their emotions all their lives.
So why suddenly now? Why suddenly now?
Because mental health has been on the forefront for a long time now. Mm-hmm. So the information is out there on how to better yourself and how to process emotions better.
So you're saying 50%? Sorry, Alex, I was just looking at
50% of the on average, 50, almost 50% of the marriages end up in divorce.
50% of marriages end up in divorce.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. 50. Okay.
And 80% of those are initiated by women. And this is a statistic from
but what? And then 75% of divorces in total are because of lack of commitment. So this is where me and Alex are coming from. I feel that a lot of it is
lack of commitment. Who says lack of commitment?
Lack of commitment, like you're saying, most of these are females.
80% females saying lack of commitment, right?
Right. Because these men probably don't know how to communicate.
These men don't know how to communicate.
Maybe they started the relationship because they were like, "Oh yeah, you're the only one for me."
No.
In their reality, they were like, "I actually want to just fuck a bunch of people." And like, if they would have came up front with that and before the marriage and was just like, "Yo,
but whose fault it is to choosing that guy? You can't put a wool over somebody's eyes for years and years. In exceptional situations, you can, but a majority of the cases, you cannot. After a year or two, you kind of know if this person is smashing somebody else. You kind of do. There are signs, there are red flags there. And if you still accept to do that because he might change, it is your fault.
But that's different. If it was an established thing in the terms of their relationship they could have an open relationship. Yeah, it does. It has a bunch to do with that because that's what infidelity is. You're stepping outside the lines and terms of conditions. If you want to talk about business terms, terms and conditions of your relationship. You agreed on this, on both sides.
We're talking about infidelity. This is not infidelity. This is commitment. Commitment doesn't mean infidelity because we know, on average, 25% of the men have reported to be cheating, which usually guys overinflate their numbers of how many girls they smash. So I would say that number is lower. And about 15% of women said that they have cheated, right?
Which so you agree with me that men want to fuck and they just want to fuck other things and everything, right?
100% all times.
Okay.
It was up to men that would never commit.
Do you think that a woman would divorce a man because she cheated?
Yes. Because
you think that that's a higher percentage than the ones that were the male cheated and the female found out?
No. I don't think that's a higher percentage.
Okay,
it's not a higher percentage.
So you agree with me that the men are the reason that the women have a higher divorce rate?
No. I do not agree with that because that logic makes
I walked you to water. I was like, "Bro, drink," and you were like,
"You didn't.
Squirrel."
No. You did not walk me to water, and you said drink. Okay, you did not. So there's.
Bro, we all went on that journey to the river, bro.
No, I drank.
You just missed it.
No, bro, I did not miss anything.
How does that not make sense? He broke it down for you. These women, right? These men fuck too many. Like want to fuck, go out and fuck.
Stop for a second. These men want to do that. However, these men. Majority of men don't have the opportunity to do that. So continue.
But if 60% of the divorces are infidelity,
commitment to the relationship, not commitment to as far as not cheating. Majority
it overlaps.
No, it does not.
It does. The stats say they overlap.
25% of men have reported to cheating. 25% of the men have reported in relationship to cheating.
You think
25%?
You think they're telling the truth?
Yeah, because they're gonna say that.
I think they're overinflating that number because men, majority of the time, will overinflate how many girls they slept with.
Then explain Ashley Madison.
Ashley Madison is one unique case. What do you want me to explain about
case? There had so many motherfuckers on there to have our marital affairs.
Now, Ashley Madison
is a online dating app for people who want to have affairs.
Correct. Now, who can afford Ashley Madison? You have to look at it that way. Who can afford it?
Used to be free.
Used to be free,
until they got broke.
Not when it got pointed out. And majority of those men that were caught were in a higher tax bracket. Majority of the time, if you're in a higher tax bracket, you have more.
Those are the ones we heard of because they were more.
Regardless, you still have to pay for the service. You still have to pay for the service, which means these are already in a higher tax bracket males, which then puts them already at a top higher percentages, which is not majority of the men. Majority of the men do not have the opportunity to cheat. And the reason the marriage was created not for women, it was created for men. So the men that did not have riz or couldn't get a wife would get a wife.
Hold up. Let's not lie to the people now. Marriage was made for land and purchase. Now,
land and purchase, that's fine.
Marriage was made so that we can exchange things. That's why marriage was made.
That's fine. However, part of the marriage was for the guys that could not get women. This ensured that they get women, because remember, back in the days, marriages were more arranged.
They had multiple marriages
because they were arranged through the family. Right?
It's an exchange, because marriage was built off of treating women like livestock.
That's my point. It was created for men. So we're on the same page, right? It was created for men, right? We're on the same page.
Created by men, yes.
Created by men for men.
Well, yeah. Who else?
Okay, so we're good on that. So if marriage was created by men for men, I feel like
you guys are on one side, like you guys are on the same conversation, and on just on either side. You're looking at it in the standpoint as the person that's receiving the land, and then you're looking at it as the standpoint as the person that's receiving the woman, right? I can't get women, so
and
I'll
the
give
land.
Up some of
I'm
my
looking
land
at both.
for it.
I'm looking at both.
I need land.
They're
so
receiving the land
women.
and the woman.
I get what he's saying, right? The guy.
Well, what we disagree
with
is the riz and the I can't get a woman thing.
Correct, because
that has nothing to do with it.
Well, no, it does, because if you look at the numbers, 30% of males between 18 to 30 are either incels or are virgin.
And we're talking about marriage of this day, which is not the land and cattle sale like it was. Okay.
I agree with that. 100%. I agree with that with you. Now, the situation has changed. What I'm trying to say is women have changed where men have stayed the same.
So what was the change in marriage?
The change in marriage was when women were now able to work, which has increased the productivity of a country.
Whoa, no. Stop. Marriage was for relationships long before women were going to work now.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to say. Back in the day, women did not work, so they didn't earn the money. So before that, they needed a man, where now they want a man. That's what has changed. The need versus want. That's a big difference.
I disagree with you there, because there was a time there. So we go way back, right? There's a cattle sale that I was talking about, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we slowly started to do it for like royalty and stuff like that.
Correct.
And then everyone started doing it for relationships and like making babies and stuff, right?
Yep.
Having a family, right?
Families.
Yes.
And then
But back
so
in the day,
it's been about relationships and has nothing to do with work. Like,
so
because the women still made those choices.
You're confusing two
things. They don't need that man. They just didn't have a right to leave that man if he was abusive.
No, they did, because in the United States, there was a law in the United States where a woman could literally take her husband to prison for being abusive. Like, you can look this up. And it was back in 50s and 40s and the 30s. They had this law. Just like a man.
America's been around a lot longer than that.
Correct. But what I'm trying to say, back in the day, women did not work as much, which means there was no cash coming in. So they needed somebody that was going to supply the resources for survival, which is a man, if the man is working. Now, once we opened the gates and women started working, no longer that is needed, because it's 2023, which means women can survive on their own by working on their own. So now the need becomes want. Do you see what I'm saying?
What he's saying is that it became want a long time before that, due to the fact that they just wanted relationships.
Because in 50s, we still had housewives, the larger population of housewives versus not housewives, where it's slowly...
Because that was a traditional value.
Not traditional, because back in the day, women did not want to work. Remember, back in the day, women did not want to vote, because that included them going into the selective service. But we removed that so women can vote. Is that correct or no?
I don't know about that.
Well, you can look it up. Part of you voting back in the day was, if you wanted to vote, you had to go to selective service. And the reason women didn't vote, not because they were cattle or this or that, maybe there was a little bit of that there because they were male chauvinists, maybe. But what I'm trying to say, back in the day, women overwhelmingly did not want to go to selective service. And we removed the selective service requirement from voting, and this is when the vote was open to women. Do you see what I'm saying?
They believe.
I'd have to look into that.
So from what I'm seeing is the reason they are saying that women weren't allowed to vote. I'm linking this right because the reason they say right, I'll just say that they didn't believe they could be counted on to vote responsibly, and I'm sure that's
a big part of it too. Yes, I agree with that.
I'm sure that's probably because women weren't allowed to get to the education levels probably a man could.
No. It's just male chauvinist.
Or
they
the
can
status.
Vote, they don't have this and that.
You could
part of the voting,
institutionalize your wife just because she pissed you off.
No, but by part of the voting was also you had to be selected for selective service, and they changed that requirement specifically for women to be able to vote as well. That requirement was changed for women to be able to vote.
But that's not why they didn't have them not vote in the
No, that's just part of it. It's a multi-pronged issue. It's not just one reason or two reasons or three reasons.
No,
multiple reasons.
No. What I'm saying though is I get what you're saying, that when they wanted to have women allowed to be the vote, they removed that.
Correct.
Right? Selective service.
So they can vote.
So they can vote.
Correct.
But when they didn't want women to vote, it wasn't because of selective service. It had nothing to do with that.
No, that was part of it why women themselves didn't want to vote. The part where women themselves didn't want to vote was because of the selective service. That was one of the reasons why women themselves didn't want to vote. That has nothing to do with men. This has to do with women.
It's not really that they didn't want to vote. They didn't have.
They didn't have a choice because they would have to elect for selective service.
They didn't have the right. They literally had to pass an amendment to allow women to do it.
Correct, but a lot of women also did not want to vote specifically due to them being able to go for selective service. Yes, they didn't have the right to vote. I agree with that. But in addition to that, that's the right to vote on the women. But on the women's side, part of women did not want to vote specifically for being part of the selective service. Like, this is well documented in the history.
From what it's saying though, the majority of the women that didn't, many words. Yeah. The majority reason why women didn't want to vote themselves was because they took care of their home and children and agreed that they had no views on politics themselves.
That's another reason. I agree with that. But that's not the point. The point here is the voting just came in as a segue, right? Like, that has nothing to do with it. What I'm trying to say, back in the day, women took care of the houses, children, and did the house chores. Men went out there, did their thing, right? Now, that has changed where women can go out there in the workforce and work, which has increased the productivity of a country. No doubt about it. Now, because now women can go work and earn resources, they no longer need a man to provide these resources. So now they want a man, but not necessarily need a man. So now what happens is that whole idea is like, the best way I can describe it is like, I want a TV. I don't need a TV, but I want a TV. So when I go to Best Buy, there's like 1,000 TVs to choose from.
I understand what you're saying.
Well, you see them on display,
but
we don't have them in stock.
I still agree with Alex that the majority of marriages are still stem from that people just want a relationship. People just want someone to share their lives with.
Correct. Now, here's
and that's been for a long time, even before women started working.
Caveat,
I believe what Alex.
Here's the caveat: you have to look at it on a strategy that men take up for a relationship versus a strategy that women take up for a relationship. The marriage is conducive for a relationship for a woman because women look for the best guy they can possibly find and be with that guy, right? Where men's strategy is as many women as possible. Now, only very small percentage of men can execute that strategy. Majority of men cannot execute that strategy.
Right.
Now, do they want to smash Becky, the Instagram model? 100%. Do they have a chance to smash Becky, the Instagram model? No.
100% no.
100% no. Right?
It depends on which Becky you're talking about.
So the strategy.
Where does Becky hang out?
Yeah, the strategy.
Becky from the back streets.
Yeah, the strategy since day one has stayed the same for women and men. Right? Women finding the best guy for the resources, securities, guys trying to find the hottest, best looking girl, and if he has a chance to get his multiple girls. Now, when the women's side comes in, is like the commitment to the relationship, right? Because what happens is when women get in a relationship, a lot of times they'll find, because they have a whole list of things to disqualify, right? They'll meet a guy. The guy spits a little bit of game. He's got his money on point. He's tall. He's good looking. He showers. He shaves. He puts cologne on. He takes care of his teeth and whatever. He looks good. So women like, found the best guy. They get in a relationship with that guy. But what happens? That guy, there's also a bunch of other women that also like that guy. So what is that guy going to do? He's never going to commit because he's got a bunch of little hoes running around. You're going to be maybe the main, and he's going to smash a bunch of other ones. This is what happens. Now, women don't want the nice guy, the guy that doesn't have the leader qualities, because those guys are in their friend zone, in their DMs.
Look, I wanted to get back to, I didn't get to mention earlier. So me and Rodolfo were actually kind of talking about this the other day. Yes. Like basically, you know, we talk about lack of commitment, and it makes me think of like lack of emotional, you know, connection, stuff like that, right? Like we're talking about these guys know how to communicate and they don't know how to like show their emotion, and, you know, probably not give enough attention. That's probably part of it, right? Lack of commitment could be a lot of things, like we said. And then what I was saying earlier too was that they overlap. The way that the divorce.com breaks down all the stats is that I guess these people are allowed to put multiple reasons for their divorce. Correct. Right. So what I saw was it's almost 60% of infidelity, and then but the largest stat is 70 whatever I said earlier of just lack of commitment. Right.
Yes.
Anyways, so
lack of commitment comes in on a women's side because they want the man but they don't need one. So now that commitment issue becomes like, well, you're not committing to this relationship because you didn't take out the garbage. I don't know. I'm just making the shit up, right, at this point.
But like I said, I feel like that you're right. That could be part of what you could put into the box of lack of commitment. I feel like lack of commitment also could be lack of emotional or actual, like, I don't know how else to put it, but like spending meaningful time with the person. Like you don't actually feel like you're in a relationship, more of like just a business partnership.
Yeah, dude, at the beginning was like, yo, I give him this and this and this, and then you got lazy and fell off, and then even she's starting to realize
even if you're still providing, like Jay says, you could be providing all the stuff, taking out all the trash, but if every time you get home, you just go straight to playing games with the boys and then you go to sleep. Playing games with the boys and then you go to sleep. Anytime there's something brought up about how she wants to spend time, it's fuck off, I'm not doing that, I'm tired, da-da-da. You know, that could be also lack of commitment.
So this is where that comes in, where the guy gets tired by providing, so does the woman by providing. So they both have to chip in and do something. This is where that lack of commitment happens. Like, well, you didn't wash the dishes.
This is ready?
You didn't do this, you didn't do that.
So this is where I believe, and I think also Alex would probably agree with me, that the relationship should be sort of a 50-50 in this sense. And maybe not 50-50, but some days. But listen, this was
something I was going to tell Jay earlier, but I think it should be 55-45.
No.
Because not only do you have to ask for marriage, but you also have to get on your knees.
I put this.
Not only that, you also have to prove to her on all the metrics.
I put this.
I mean, if she loves you right, she'll get on her knees too.
I put this wrong. Ready? It's not 50-50. You guys need to create 100% collectively, and when you don't create 100% collectively, because there's some days, like I heard this guy talking about with his wife the other day, how they kind of communicate effectively. They come and they tell each other after their long days of work, and they'll be like, "Yeah, today I'm at a 30. Like I can't." And so his wife will say, "Okay, I got you. I put in my 70, right?" Like, or the vice versa will happen. Or they'll say that he's also said there'll be days where they'll come in and he'll be like, "I got 20. That's it." And she says, "Well, I got 30." And so they have to communicate to each other and let each other know that they're not in the right mood and stuff like that, right? And me and Rodolfo were talking about how the other day he said, like, oh, girls talking about how, like, I'm not emotional enough and stuff like that. And he was saying, like, you know, a lot of guys have that problem where girls will come out and say, you don't give me enough emotional attention. Like, you're not enough this or
You're
that
not supposed to. That's my point.
No, this is where I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to. I believe that, and built in innately, right, if you're doing it because the woman wants you to, that it shouldn't be done, right? Like, that's bullshit. That's not how it should work. All the stuff that I do when I go and I say, hey, to Emily, I say, hey, mi amor, or I go up to her and I call her beautiful, whatever, it's because I really genuinely feel like doing so. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get that, but I think you're confusing, guys. When I'm saying you shouldn't be emotional, I think you're confusing with an idea where, like, suck my D, be like, I'm not doing it. No, not that. It's not that. It's like, hey, listen, we're not gonna do this, and this is why we're gonna do that. Now, if she loves you and respects you enough, where she has to be more in love with you, she's gonna say, you know what? He probably has the best intentions in mind for our relationship. I'm going to let him lead.
It's funny. We talked about this the other day too, with in the same conversation, me, Emily, and Rodolfo. I told Emily and Rodolfo, I was like, Emily's way better at being more attentive and all this stuff than I am.
Yeah, because that's their nurturing.
And I broke it down this way. I was saying how all the stuff that I do for her when I go to, like, for example, like today I took her Starbucks to work. I do that because I like to and I enjoy doing it.
And nobody's not saying don't do it. No,
and this is what I'm getting to.
I don't have Eddie delivering fucking Starbucks to my job.
No, I'm not saying don't.
Hey, you don't give me the
you don't want the Eddie?
I'm not saying don't do those things. See, I think this is what you're confusing with. I'm not saying don't do this.
Listen. Mm-hmm. And what I'm just trying to get at is that Emily's better than me in the sense that she will do stuff even when she doesn't feel like it because I asked or because I hinted at this or hinted at that. She goes out of her way, even if she's gonna do it in a mad manner, she still does it, and that's why I said she's better than me because that's like and that's why I understand you in the sense that women are genetically more
caring,
made to care, more nurturing, and attentive, and stuff like that.
Now, that's see, the thing is, I'm not saying don't buy her the coffee. What I'm trying to say in a lot of the relationships or perceived relationships where a guy just barely made it, like barely made the mark, and she's with that girl, right? Like, because we know, you have to look at it this way. Girls want a guy that's taller than them, makes more money than them, on average 50%. This is, again, statistical data from women, right? Taller than them, makes more money than them, has more leadership skills than them, is physically stronger than them, right? Can quickly make decisions, is wittier than them, funnier than them, like always cleaning up. So on average, when the guy comes into a relationship, he's already above her by all the metrics. This is the only reason she agrees to be in a relationship with this guy, because she's above her in all of metrics.
I don't believe all metrics.
I mean, 100% above.
That sounds like she has a fucking dream, and I also have a dream of having a fucking model with 4 asses and 12 titties.
That's what I mean. That sounds like a dream, right?
Standards.
That's true. However, remember, we look to qualify a girl where girls look to disqualify a guy. There's a different mating strategy.
I look to disqualify a girl. I disqualify girls.
Well, Miggy,
maybe we should change up your strategy then.
So
that's the nicest way I can put it.
Yes, and I do agree with you. And I
mean, shit, it depends on what you're looking for.
If majority of guys disqualify the girl on a fuckery that they do, for example, let's say you don't like her, just like in Jonah Hill's case, putting pictures of her in bikini on Instagram, you saw her doing that, that's recreational use only. You smash, you never give a commitment.
What's up, Natalie? What's up, Damaris?
See what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say. If the guys did that, there would be less of this fuckery in the world. But guys don't do it because, well, we know one thing. If the majority of the guys catch a girl, they're immediately, this is it. Like, I get to smash, yay. You know what I mean? Because they don't have access to do it and exercise their own wants and needs, biological wants and needs, right? So the point here is, by all the metrics, so if the guy barely makes it, he's on a time clock. If he barely makes it, like, to the level where she says, yeah, let's do this,
pump a baby quick.
And then what happens? Then that's even worse. That's even worse. Lockdown. That's even worse, because the minute she gets a baby and the baby is out of the gestation period, which is where that 8-year time frame comes in, when the baby's old enough to be on their own and you don't have to run around after it too much, that's when the majority of divorces happen. See what I mean?
So a lot of people stay together for kids that don't need to be together.
Correct. I agree with you. I agree with you with that as well. However, they're doing it for the kids, and I commend that. They don't need to be together. Make sure your kids grow up and then get a divorce afterwards, right? But the point here, what I'm trying to say is, in most cases, women are not the ones that are happy in their relationships, right? And they've been for years saying, I want the guys to be emotionally more intelligent, this, and that. Now, society has started to shift towards that. And yet we have a larger number of divorces, larger number of unhappy relationships, and it's not due to because the mental health is a little more this and that. It's because you cannot go off of emotional decisions. You have to go off of logical decisions. This is my whole argument from the beginning, and I'm bringing it full circle back. You have to go off of the logical decisions, whether you like it or you don't. I might not.
So when you go out. Mm-hmm. When you go out and have fun, yes. Right? When you're going to party or at the club, right? It's all logical.
Yes.
Nothing just like, fuck it, let's do this.
It depends. So it depends. If I'm going out with an idea that I'm not like gonna try to pick up a girl here and there, then it's gonna be all like, let it a little bit loose. But if I'm going out with an idea like I need to pick up a girl, no, it's all logic.
He's going out with that tonight we smash.
The reason I dress, the reason I smell, the reason I do this, I do that, the way I talk, the way I move, the way I don't drink a lot, though I drink a lot, like everything has a reason why I'm doing it. Everything is calculated. You have to know that. It's like saying a fisherman goes to the sea to catch a fish, but they don't know nothing about salmon, but they want to catch salmon. Like, it's not gonna work.
These females think they playing fucking chess with Jay. He's playing chess. They playing checkers. All right.
So no, not all females. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the strikeout rate is insane because I have my height working against me. Number one, and I'm not an upper echelon. I'm not very famous. I'm not a basketball player. I'm not somebody extremely famous. So I have a couple of things that are working against me. So the strikeout rate is high.
But sometimes you walk in front of that ball and get hit, get that walk.
What's that?
I agree with Nat. That's not logic.
To get that walk.
What do you mean that's not logic?
That's hormones. That's your emotions.
AKA
your hormones are saying this is what I gotta do to get laid, and then you're putting that shit through there.
No, my hormones are saying you need to get laid.
His actions are driven by emotion.
My actions are driven by logic because I understand my hormones are saying this, but I know what to do to get there. And the reason I know that because you have to be like again fisherman's example. Your hormones are telling you need to eat or you're gonna die, but you need to know how to catch the damn fish, what kind of hook to use, what kind of bait to use,
what he's saying is actions, in a sense, is logical, is the way he goes about getting his goals.
And that takes time to develop.
That's what he's saying is logical.
That takes time to develop. Yeah, it doesn't happen right away.
Of course, it's
like you have to take a lot of
his emotional urges. He's applying a logistical solution.
Correct. To logistical solution to what I want.
So because he wants to make sure he gets maximum outcome, right? Like
I mean, yeah.
I get that. That's for sure.
But either case, I also understand.
Even when it's pushing that cushion, sometimes.
Say, hey, it's a
you just gotta. That's a number on the board, you know.
So sometimes it's a slow Tuesday.
A little off subject here. I'm just wanted to ask you, Alex. We haven't talked to you about it. You've been playing this goddamn Dyson Sphere program, whatever. For those who don't know what it is, break down real quick just what a Dyson Sphere is in the most like basic terms.
Basically turning a star into an infinite battery until it either A, blows up, or B, implodes and creates a black hole.
Is this realistic?
It's all theoretical right now.
So that's kind of cool because they invented something like that for medical. They invented a game like that a couple of years back for people to play where you would create viruses that would cure a cause. So you could add molecules, and so it seems like it's similar.
Yeah. Cool, it's a lot more in depth than I think I know what you're talking about, that pandemic game where you
it was way before that. Was it pandemic game?
Yes,
not like
there was a game I saw that went
like
famous
way back, like 5-10 years ago.
No, this game just went famous during the pandemic, but I think it's a little old now. So it was basically like you can choose the modes like easy, hard, difficult, and you basically have to try and source the whole. You're play as the whole world, and you have to source shit out to.
Well, no, this one was.
It used to be like an old PC game, like that was a old Flash game that then adapted into a phone game. That I think it's called Playing Ink now. I could be wrong.
I don't know. This one
start in Madagascar, infect by boats, and then go straight to flying. That's my strategy.
No. This one was the one what I'm talking about. It's like you would look at 3D model of a molecule and you would take out parts of it and add different parts of it to see if it's going to actually work.
And then you saw like a map of the world and saw how it affected.
No. It was just specifically for the molecules.
Okay, no. What we're talking about is like you can play both as defending or attacking. You can play as the virus, or you can play as like defending, like as the world, like trying to make sure the virus doesn't.
No. This one was more like. That's what I'm saying. This was done for researchers, more like in-depth specific, like these molecules attached to this and that, but it never really took off, but I don't think the science was there fully to understand how this is going to attach. But anyway,
the Dyson Sphere thing, the game seems to be pretty in-depth. What are you really doing in the game?
So it's made by a development team of 5 people. I found this out the other day when I was like, wow. It's A, beautiful, B, it's basically a factory simulator because you just gotta take resources, build resources, trying to take your galaxy's resources and to the point where you can go to intergalactic and just like go to different stars and shit like that and take resources from all that, send it back to where you're trying to build the Dyson Sphere around the star. So, and you basically are just a robot and you get to fly around in space, and it makes that nerd itch go. Ooh.
Okay. So I saw that there was like a basic model of what like the Dyson Sphere consists of. There was like a couple things inside the Dyson Sphere like together. It's not just like the star itself. So how does like that work?
Like, so theoretically, you want to build these reflectors that we shoot around into the sun's orbit that'll orbit the sun and not go into it. And then we use that to, we have to do it if from our solar system, from like Venus or Mercury, like it has to be close.
Yeah.
And then we'll start shooting out other things that will accumulate those into making it like a reflective surface and create a sphere around the sun to where it's constantly sucking that radiation and then projecting it out to solar beams or something to collect it and disperse it.
Theoretically, this would put a dome around the whole sun, though?
Yes. Like see-through dome. Unless some models are just like turning it into a big machine and basically turning it into like an outer factory.
But that
with
would
an
kill
inner
everything
core.
on the planet, so that wouldn't work, right? Like you would need this to.
That would be, yeah, we would lose our sun if we did that. So
Right,
we'd
right.
have to do it on like a different star.
Well, forget all that. Who's gonna clean these windows
Clean these windows.
Shit.
from space debris?
Now that you say that, imagine we go to another planet. We do that to another, or not another planet. We go to another sun. We do that to that sun, and we fuck up another Earth that we didn't know about, just because we went over.
This is where you
and
get Star
fucked up
Trek.
their sun.
This is where you get
Well,
started.
see,
How do you-
theoretically, this is like how we get to other galaxies. This is how we get intergalactic. In what the theories we have is to literally harness the power of the sun to be able to make it that far in light years without, dying before we get
But
there.
the thing is
But
it's
see,
not
even
only
in
making
light
it that
years,
far.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, see, this is my thing, right? I agree with Jay. It's not just making it that far in that amount of time. It's about what are you going to build that can withstand moving that fast?
Well, even forget.
That's the problem.
Let's say-
That's the big problem. To move at the speed of light, bro.
and not blow up
Like not
or
get
rip itself apart.
Yeah, literally,
let's
like,
say-
or blow a
let's
hole
say-
in existence. Like, this is my thing, right?
Let's say the technology got there and you were able to build something to move at the speed of light. The closest star to us is 4.5 light years away. So which means you would have to travel for 4.5 years in
Moving
order
at the speed of light.
at the speed of light to reach that star. So that makes no sense, right? Like they literally the,
No, I
the
understand.
cosmic travel makes no sense.
No, I understand what he's saying in the sense that getting enough energy to do it for that amount of time and all that stuff. But the problem is moving at that speed, getting something to capably move at that speed is just insane. Like, I don't understand. Like, right, you see these spaceships taking off at like, 60,000, 80,000 kilometers an hour.
the
And you're like, oh shit, that's fast, right? But like compared to the speed of light, that's nothing.
Well, see, the spaceships that are taking off at that speed going out of our atmosphere, like it actually uses more fuel to try to enter the atmosphere and land it than it goes up. Like the fuel amount that you use is very little when you're going out of the atmosphere. Right?
Yeah,
Like
it's trying to get out of that gravitational pull.
Yeah, the entering is the problem, right? Like but the whole idea of space travel makes no sense because there's no good way to do the space travel that makes sense.
300,000 kilometers.
I think
per
it would be
hour.
really cool. This is like the only
Kilometers per hour or per second? It's second, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Per second.
What are
That's
the
100,000
That's
kilometers per
what.
second.
That's what even blows your mind even more. Cause like, 80,000 kilometers per hour to 300,000. Like, okay, doesn't sound that crazy. But then you put it in the sense that it's 300,000 kilometers per second.
Yeah.
That
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it makes no sense.
One of the coolest parts I think about like space travel or just getting out of the atmosphere is that point when you just feel like you're at zero gravity. I want to know what that change feels like.
Zero gravity. I'm sure you can do zero gravity. It'll cost you a little bit of money, but you can do it. I mean, right now you can go to 50,000 feet on a Virgin Galactic. It'll cost you $250,000, but you can do that, no problem. You know what I mean? Like you can do that. But what I'm trying to say, like, that's a cool idea if you could harness the power of the sun and then use that as a source of energy here on a planet. Now that'll solve a whole lot of shit.
Yes,
Now that will solve a lot of
literally
issues.
fossil fuels would just be out the
Disappear.
window.
Yeah, disappear. The entire car industry would
1
disappear
trillion
overnight.
kilometers per hour.
Yeah. trillion kilometers out there. Like think about like this is why I'm saying space travel makes
it doesn't
no
make
sense.
It doesn't make. You know what this makes this? I heard this the other day, and it was about how that if we are a simulation, right? That the reason they've instilled this rule of the speed of light is because that and it's such like it's an impossible thing, right? Like we view it as such an impossible thing, and they made it like that on purpose. The simulation is like that on purpose, because if we were to obtain that speed, the simulation couldn't create a simulation that fast throughout its space. You know what I mean? Like we would overload the system, right? Like that's why they've implemented this like standard that it's like if you can you can't like we're just gonna make this cap for you guys, like you'll never be able to do this.
If they were able to create the simulation, they can create better computers that can handle
no
right?
But what I'm saying is that a computer can only still do so much. It's gonna have a certain cap, right? Like the reason if the simulation can already create this world, right, and let's say that the simulation actually is intertwined with everybody else's matrix, meaning that you're in a simulation and I'm in a simulation, but we're actually still like communicating right now. I
bet this is what it is.
To be able to have that compute power to do the whole world like that, plus then let's say there's multiple people moving around the universe at the speed of light, to create that would make it so much harder. Right, like you would need to compute something on a whole nother level.
Yeah, but see, we're doing space travel. Like for how many years we've been doing space travel?
But space travel to the moon.
Hold on.
Come on, bro. Like that's not comparative to like moving for even an hour at the speed of light. Like you know how far you get.
I know. But what I'm trying to say, how many people are? How long have you been doing moon travel?
I don't know. What was the first person that left our atmosphere?
Buzz Aldrin,
Neil Armstrong.
The Russians beat us to space.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm not saying necessarily the first person to the moon. I'm just saying the first person out of our atmosphere.
Yeah, with the dog that they didn't care about.
Yeah,
because that motherfucker's dead.
No, but Gagarin was the first person to go in space. That's who did it, right? First person.
When did this happen?
Well, this happened in like
first person on the moon, Neil Armstrong, in
1969. In space.
Well,
in space was Yuri Gagarin.
He's
a Russian.
1930. Wait, hold up. Nope. That's his. That's
Yuri
his birthday.
Gagarin.
Sorry.
Exactly like you said. 61.
61. There we go. So we've been
61.
flying.
61, and he died in 68.
Yeah. So we've been flying.
And those motherfuckers supposed to be healthy, like NFL player healthy. What the fuck?
Well, so we've been doing this for past 60 years. How many people out of 8 billion, percentage-wise, have gone to space?
I'm curious now if he died of radiation because they didn't know.
They're not gonna.
Space
it's Russia,
is
bro. They're not gonna
full
say
of
that.
radiation, right?
They're not gonna say that. They're not gonna report that. They're gonna be like, he died happily with his family holding his hand. Multiple children crying over him.
He had
a national hero.
National hero, yeah. So what I'm trying to say, since we've been doing this for 60 some years, right?
Well,
Calvin, you're right. Yes, you move at the speed of light, you die.
I just did a little bit of research, and he died in a training flight.
Oh.
Yeah. On March 27, 1968, Yuri Gagarin, the first man to go into space, died together with pilot Vladimir Serjogin during a routine training flight after the MiG-15 jet fighter they were flying crashed near
Novoselov was eating shish kebabs. That's
interesting
in
topic.
Soviet Union.
You said Armenian name, right?
Yeah.
I heard the other day that you guys can't go to certain countries because of your guys' last name.
No, that's
or certain
not true.
Places.
No. You still can go to. You can go anywhere, but it's kind of like Colombia, right? Like trying to come to the United States is a headache.
No. But I'm saying like the other day, they were talking about like Lynette and Arthur when they went through Europe. And Lynette said, like, oh, I want to go to this place. And Arthur had said, like, because of how it is there right now, like...
Turkey, Azerbaijan.
You can't go... We can't go there because of our last name.
You can't go to Turkey and Azerbaijan, except if they find out you're Armenian, like, you're in deep shit now.
Okay, so it's risky.
It's risky, but you can.
So it does mean something. It means something.
Now, in 1990s, Armenia made a law because there was a mass exodus from the country. They made a law that if your last name ends with IAN or YAN, Yan, you're not allowed to leave Armenia. Make sense? Everyone's last name ends with IAN.
Yours is JAN, right?
Yeah, but because...
Same thing, right? Like it's
because of the alphabet, Lithuanian alphabet.
But it's the same shit, right? Yeah, it reads as Yan. Right?
Yes. So they made this law that you cannot leave Armenia because men and women have the same ending of a last name. So they were not allowing you to leave the country if you had the last name, right? Like that was back in the day. But now You can go anywhere you want in the world, except the idea is to get the visa, number one, and number two is
the logistical shit. I get that. Shit, yeah. But I just heard that and I was like, really?
Turkey probably not a good idea
for you guys, for you and the night.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Yeah.
And then your mom's last name is, what is your mom's last name? Babayan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everyone's last name is Ayan. But the point here, what I'm trying to say is, we've been doing the space travel for 60 years, right? 62 years. How many people in total have gone to space? Even if we create speed of light, and able to travel, it's going to be same shit. Like, it's going to be so expensive. Not everyone is going to be able to do it. So you're not going to have a bunch of people zipping around in a cosmos like that.
Whoa. Let's look at it this way.
It's space travel is not cars.
I get they're not cars
as long as
they're cars. They're not cars yet. I eventually, man, they're trying to make SpaceX has been trying to do the commercial ship it's been rumored for years now. Like, they're gonna get people to be able to go to space. I get what you're saying. It's gonna be very expensive. What I'm trying, you're still talking about the simulation thing, right?
Anytime soon.
You're still talking about the simulation thing, right? Like them not being able to compute so far out. It makes sense. It was Neil deGrasse Tyson saying this shit. Amen.
Yeah. Like, no. I mean, what he's saying is it doesn't make
600
sense.
people in total have been to space.
There you go. So 600 out of 8 billion. So you think that's gonna change when they create a speed of light? No,
absolutely not. But think about it.
I mean, honestly, by the time we create travel by the speed of light, I would probably think that commercial space flight we would at least
commercial space flight, yes.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, commercial space flight, yes. But then it's speed of light where the computers cannot catch up. Even at commercial flight, think of it as the cars now. You're gonna have the space flight.
The problem now is space flight is, one, very fucking expensive. Two, we have to like internationally and like agree on this shit because space is kind of a gray zone when it comes to
because
territory.
Nobody owns it, right? Kind of like Antarctica. They came down and signed that nobody can occupy it.
You might blow up in space. You might break someone else's satellite. And that's not a good thing. But but commercial flights, I mean, billionaires are doing it now. But when we can find a way to have a less combustible way to get out of orbit, I can see it happening, like a space elevator or something.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what I'm trying to say is that that computer, like, even if we're in a simulation, just kind of like your games, guys, that you play on a computer, the computers get better and better every time there's a newer game that's coming out.
Look at it.
Games get adapted to that, right?
Look at it this way.
The game would get adapted to the computer.
No, but at the end of the day, it's still running on that same engine, right? So if you really think about it, if you're moving at the speed of light, you're going so far. It makes sense. You'd be going so far, fast.
Right now.
So fast, the computer wouldn't be able to handle
right now, if there's proverbial computer out there and there's this whole thing
But even
happening,
if I'm looking at it in the spectrum of like a game, right? Like you think of The Sims. Like the Sims engine will still only be able to handle so much. They're going to only be able to optimize it so much, right? So like, well, then they would have to put us on a whole new simulation. You know what I mean?
But they always can create better graphics. They can always create better this. Better
that. But the computing itself of how fast the engine can move, or how it's made, and how it's like the architecture of it.
Can you right now push Sims on your computer, right? And another game that was released at the same time, around the same time, you can push both of them at the same time, right? Like,
they probably won't run well.
Sims of 2000s.
No, they probably won't run well.
But if you play Sims 1 on something that's bigger than a fucking 14-inch screen, you're gonna have two big blocks on it, and it's not gonna run with the same power as Sims 4.
No, I get that. But let's say you're playing Sims 1, you can play another game that was released within the same time with no problem on that 14-inch screen.
What we're trying to say is that Sims 1 will only still, even if you put it on a freaking supercomputer, on a quantum computer, it will still be limited just because of the platform it's on based on the game.
Yeah, so which I'm saying the games have upgraded since then. So if our simulation upgrades where we get the space flight...
But they would have to put us on a whole nother simulation if what I'm saying is true, ready? If what I'm saying is true that they have these limits based on the simulation, right? The simulation can only do so much. That's why there's this limit of speed of light, right? Like there's no way you can attain that, right? So
for them to put what you're saying is we're in Sims 1 and they're not updating it,
right? Not that they're not updating it, but the update threshold is only so far.
Yeah, so they're not updating.
So there's no way that
create a brand new simulation.
There you go. They would have to create which I believe that it's possible. I get what you're saying.
But see, here's the thing about the aliens.
It all grows. Technology is proven. It just continues to grow.
The other day, I heard probably the best so far that I've heard is like that. Do aliens do aliens exist? Yes, they do, but I don't think there are any on this planet. Because if you take that space travel, right, and the whole simulation idea, like it's impossible. Like no, it's just us. There's no lizard people on the Antarctic cap. Like Zuckerberg is just awkward. You know, he's not part of the
just awkward, right?
tribe of the lizard people. You know what I mean? So there's no such thing as that, right? I think that was probably the best argument I've heard so far. Is like, you know, the whole idea of like alien spaceships people are seeing. This is all it's something else that we don't know about, and that's because the government is keeping it secret.
The question would be, right? It's so hard to answer these questions, right? So, if there is
that what the lizard people want you to think?
Ready? If there is, if there is these aliens and they can come to our planet, right? They're so beyond what we could reach. What if they just can?
But if we're in a simulation,
what if the eclipse is like they just make the eclipse because that's their version of like the big Men in Black like light. It just flashes you and you forgot it all.
What if we're an organic simulation? What if some extraterrestrial being has evolved so far to where they just out there creating it, like the creator in the Marvel series, like just creating civilization.
like in a show Supernatural.
The Last of Us fungus, the way it works in real life, it goes into the ant's brains and creates it makes you hallucinate. And basically, in a sense, I could see how if they could evolve to the sense where it would just put you in your own realm and take control of your body.
Yeah, but then what you're saying is then that becomes that like Sims 1 characters start playing with Sims 4 characters.
Well, I mean, we're genetic code, right? We're just ones and zeros of DNA and RNA, so we just keep making new versions of ourselves organically. Maybe we're someone else's simulation, and they're just looking from a really fucking high scope telescope.
Maybe these motherfuckers are just playing a game like you guys are playing Tarkov.
Maybe.
And we just have consciousness.
That'd be a boring ass game.
I know, right? Who would, no one wants to play my depressing ass life. Like what?
Shit.
Well, I mean, that's I don't know. Maybe you were dealt that card when you were born. Like this is your character.
Oh, well, this is my game.
Yeah, this is your character. You do whatever you got to do with it, and it just depends how intelligent you are and how far you can push this character, how much money you got.
Then comes the question:
you imagine?
Are you the NPC?
Right. Yeah. Are we in a simulation? You imagine if you die in the simulation and they wake you up in the new one, it's like, okay, based on your productivity is what we're gonna have you do. That was just a test. This whole thing is just a test. That'd be fun.
It's like Jerry
crazy.
from.
Right then and there,
or is it Roy from
you wake
Rick
up
and
and
Morty?
you're like, fuck you guys, give me a gun. I'm done. I don't want to do this. Fuck you guys.
Get Dr. Kevorkian.
Fuck this. I'm done, right? Like assisted suicide. Let's go.
Shit.
So, but we haven't touched on the subject of arranged marriages.
So, do you have something new about this that came up? Or
no, so the whole thing I kind of looked up on a statistic. Like their arranged marriages actually have only 1% of not being successful, which means in arranged marriages only 99%. Well, in India, 99% of the arranged marriages are still together, and only 1% has a fail rate.
Yeah, when you're forcing something.
Well, I mean, you're forcing the marriage.
But it's also, if you're forcing the marriage, you can see how that could affect, right? You have to agree that can affect long term.
Let me ask you a question.
Like they're gonna feel pressure.
I mean, you also gotta think about like religious and cultural pressures too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, they feel pressured into staying there. They felt pressured to get there in the first place. It's kind of like one of those things. Like, okay, they pressured you and forcing you into participate into religion, right? Like you're forced to go to church on. Like or sign up for this religion and be baptized.
So you're making this a religious thing.
Don't feel forced to show up every Sunday. No, you're gonna still feel pressured to show up every Sunday too.
But you're making this as a religious thing. What I'm trying to say. So let's say you have a daughter, right, and she's starting to date. Who would be better at understanding the guy that she's dating, you or her?
So I mean, it's kind of hard to not make it a religious thing since this kind of came from a religion.
No, I know. But like, this is my question. You guys went the religious side, which is fine, but that's not what I'm talking about.
He's trying to break it down in this manner.
Like, I'm talking about if you had a daughter right now, who would be able to tell with better chance of certainty what kind of a guy is she trying to date, you or her?
So I get what you're saying because I have more human experience.
Not only that, you have more human experience, and you are also a guy.
No, and okay, that's something, right? That is something because you can understand how most
why is it a lot of times
you could also not know a thing about your daughter and just marry what you think is good for them?
I don't.
And majority of the times you're probably gonna
I think the qualities.
Not what she wants.
I think the qualities he's trying to vet out are more extreme qualities, like this guy's delinquent, or he's
he's the Chad in the pool.
He's aggressive, or this or that. I don't think he's talking about.
Not only that, or he's a player.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like the extreme things you're trying to vet out for your daughter. I don't think he's talking.
This guy might not be as interesting, but he'll provide and love you and take care of you.
Right. Like he's looking at like these very generic qualities, which I think what you mean, like you don't know what your daughter's looking for. That's like the actual type of person they are. Which I think can, affects each other, but doesn't necessarily coincide 100%. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get wanting to look out for your daughter. Like, hey, I know how men are. Look out for these red flags.
Yeah, because
when it comes to like arranged marriage, you are picking what you think is good for your daughter.
No, not necessarily, because with arranged marriages, there's a whole process that they go through arranged marriages. It's not just like I'm picking this person. They talk to the family, to the friends.
In some families.
Yeah, they talk to the family, they talk to the friends, they talk to a bunch of people before this decision is made. They want to make sure that this person is a reputable person prior to having the marriage.
I like this. So you can have someone and they can coincide and basically bring them to the group and have them hang around, and then people tell you, hey man, like this person's like this. And so I don't really think you should be with them. Correct. It's at the end of the day, it's that person's decision, right? But I can agree that most of the time what that person said was not maybe right, but if it was something like, oh, like I can tell they're gonna be like this with that certain thing about keeping the house clean, or
so this is where the
some
emotions
weird
and logic
standard,
comes
right?
In.
But that's at the end of the day, that's their choice to deal with that weird standard or quality that this person has.
Your job is like if you see something, you say it once and that's that, and then whatever the person wants to do with that information, if it's solicited,
and it doesn't necessarily have an effect whether or not they're going to have a successful relationship, because if the person can compromise and deal with that thing, right?
It gives you a better chance to having a successful relationship.
That's also
because you always want to increase the chances.
That's something I can agree with, right? So you are like, for example, I don't think you should necessarily be the one picking your daughter's husband, right? But I agree in the sense that if you see something wrong with this kid and you're gonna communicate to your daughter I don't think this is the best choice, or blah blah blah.
So because arranged marriages, a lot of people don't understand how they work. It's not like, well, this is the only guy. No, it's not like that. The fathers of the family will say, well, these are the guys that we vetted and we think there could be a good match for you. Which one do you think you like?
I think it's her, but I think that it shouldn't. I still think that's incorrect, right? I think that you're still breaking down.
It's stunting her exploration. It's stunting her acknowledgement of who she likes and
there
who she
you go.
wants.
You're still giving
but we also know that the girls will go to Cancun and smash the guy in a pool, in a hot foam pool, with well knowing that this guy is never going to commit. So we also know that the women make.
And you wouldn't be that guy if it was an Instagram model.
Emotional choices come in.
I don't think the majority of women would do that.
And also, we have to say, like, since you brought up India as an example, it's a cultural thing. You are branded for life if you choose to use Hindu law to get a divorce.
The India
as a woman.
India's statistic was different because in a Western world we don't have arranged marriages, so it would be very difficult to say how well these arranged marriages do. Now, the small percentage that you have, you can look at it, but a lot of people say, well, that's not a big enough pool of numbers for us to conclusively say that. That's the reason I elected India, because they do have that on a larger scale in overall population, right?
Well, yeah, but what me and Eddie are saying, that like you are picking what your daughter's gonna marry, right? If my wife and her family had anything to do with what she had to marry, they would never pick me.
Yes.
I'm the hood rat that's aggressive, that like.
But that's
and I get it, but that's what we love, and we love each other. Like, we're opposites. She's very kind. I'm not. So when it's time, I mean, she could be savage. Don't get me wrong.
She's mean to us in the group.
No, I think a lot of times guys take that her being mean or savage. I think those are just shit tests. Subconsciously, she's shit testing you to see
I love it. Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
When Angel comes in and says, "Hey, Bessie," and she's like, "Who are you?" Like, I die.
Yeah.
How much is left?
No, I see what you're saying, but the point here, what I'm trying to say is that now, can arranged marriages work, and are they necessarily what you want? But the point is, no one likes to take the cough syrup, but it's actually good for you.
I mean, we even have our own kind of traditional vetting service in America, you know, like you have that stage where you guys just decide to couple, and then there's that little bit where like the family starts adding on Facebook, and then like social media stalk you, and then they eventually come over, and then they vet from there, like you know.
Yeah, you know what?
It's just you had the choice to bring in that partner.
What do you guys think about the culture that maybe this is my anecdotal thing, right? That I see a lot of Latino cultures have this, and I've seen a lot of my black friends experience the same thing, where their families love to troll and mess with their partners, right? Especially the guys, right?
I've seen that heavy.
Especially the guys. The girls are a little more like so they do it backhanded. They do like backhanded compliments, but the guys are like up front and will roast you in front of the whole family, or just try and make you look dumb, right?
Well, that's the play.
What do you guys think about that?
That's the play, right? Like that's I think that's our lizard brain. That's where our competition kicks in. Since like back in the day, where like you're trying to prove that you're like the hierarchy.
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's proving. I think it's that you're trying to put that person in an uncomfortable scenario and see how they react to it.
I feel like
this is someone that talking about if they're trolling the
significant other, the family.
Other,
I feel like it's a thing about can he keep his composure?
Right.
Can he stay calm?
That's what I mean. It depends on the situation, because if it's the family that doesn't troll each other, that doesn't put people through the rounds, you know. I've been to those family dinners where they're all nice and they love each other, and I'm like, gross. Why aren't you making fun of each other and shit like that, you know? Right?
I think that if you don't get that out, right? Because there's certain things that when we're trolling each other, we're saying things that are real, right? Like Jay will say things to me and I'll say things to him that I'm trolling him and making fun of him and getting a laugh out of it. Everybody's laughing about it. But it might be real in the sense that it has a little bit of truth to it. And I think that
every joke has a little bit of truth.
Every joke has a little bit of truth to it in a sense, right? So I think that there's part of that you get to get that out in a very playful manner and let them know. It's almost like you're letting them know you care and you're seeing these things and you want them to better themselves. But
everyone getting comfortable with this new person being adopted into the family unit.
Yes. And
that's how your family runs, if that's how you talk shit to motherfuckers, you're gonna do it to them because they're either gonna do it back or you're gonna be like, oh, they got no skin, like it's thin.
No, but
you might not want to stay with that because I know how you are, and you rip people apart.
I remember when I was going to meet like Emily's family, like I met all of them, right? Not just her parents. She like was warning me, like, yeah, just they might just be careful. My cousins and my uncles, they're gonna say stuff to you, and I was like, I have a Hispanic family. I know how this is gonna go. Like, I know exactly what they're gonna try and do. I've seen this done to many boyfriends.
No. So that's where that comes in. They're testing you, right? Like especially males, they will test you because male will understand male is better. Like that little joke test is actually giving them understand what kind of a person you are.
It's not only the males that do it.
It's females too.
Yeah, because you know who trolls me the most in Emily's family is Emily's mom.
Yeah, because you can't forget women are very communitarian, right?
This woman can't see me smile. Anytime she see me smile, she's like, "Fuck you so happy about." Was it your birthday today? Like she doesn't like want me to smile.
Yeah,
or if she's talking to me about something and I'm smiling, she's like, "What am I saying something funny? Is I saying a joke?"
Next time, turn around when she says something like that, is like, you know what? I'm so happy to see your beautiful face. Just say some bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just say some bullshit. See her. She's gonna turn around and give a smile and then come back with a frown.
I usually just laugh it off, right, and keep smiling because I'm a happy person. What can I say?
Because I'm a happy motherfucker. That's why I'm smiling, bitch. Oh, sorry. Was that too aggressive?
No. So what I'm trying to say, like,
as long as I didn't say it.
Shit test exists for guys and the girls, but I think like the girls' shit tests are usually like to test you to see how you're going to react in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, right. Like
because Again, going back to whether you're gonna lead, right? Like if you're gonna have a logical response, or you're gonna be witty about it, funny about it. You know what I mean? I
agree, right? That vetting process.
Because they're trying to see whether you're gonna get emotional. Because when men get emotional, they do stupid shit.
Yeah, but it goes both ways.
Everybody does dumb shit when they're emotional.
My family rips into every girl I brought home. You know, like
yeah.
See, I never saw that with white families. Like I always noticed that everybody was very, like you said, like just happy go funny, and like they weren't really messing with each other.
It's situational, like I said. Some of them are like they're in the fucking deep place, like, oh, we love each other, but some of them act like normal families,
and those are the
actually
families
love each other.
Yeah, those are the families actually love each other. Yeah, those are the families. They're gonna have two types, right? Like one is they're lovey-dovey. They're lovey-dovey, and but then behind they're talking hella shit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Or they're like, well, it's his choice, we're gonna respect it. And that's where they leave it. There's no in between. Yeah. There's no gray area. Where in other families, like the ones that are making fun, there is that gray area. That's they're testing out the gray area.
It's his choice. I'm gonna respect it. That's a real white way of saying ain't none of my business.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't none of my business. I ain't gonna get involved.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, right? Like that's the whole idea. So now
this is where I have a little bit of a problem with what I'll say my anecdotal Hispanic Latino culture is where people get involved a little bit too much because they feel so close with everybody, right? So
that's where you place it, like you turn on and say, hey, listen, bro, this is my family. I'm not coming out there giving you unsolicited advice. When I need an advice from you, I will ask you. And this is with no disrespect, but I don't need an advice right now for this situation.
It's not only that. It's one of those things where just people get involved into business because like they hear some kind of gossip or whatever, and they feel like because it was about my cousin that I'm so close to, I'm gonna go tell him, like that's what's right. And it's like, but that gossip you heard has nothing to do with you. Stay out of it, right? Because once that happens a lot, right? And this is what I'm saying, I have a problem with it because I see a lot of relationships break up because of it. Is that people start getting involved in shit they have nothing to do with, or start talking shit about stuff they have nothing to do with, right? And so, it doesn't help anybody.
This is the thing for me with gossip. If you're going, as a guy, if you're going to gossip, which I don't agree with, if you're going to gossip, you better damn make sure when that person is there the next time, you tell them the same exact thing in their face. Then no longer that becomes a gossip because then you try.
I think if it's someone that you care about, you never say anything you haven't even said before in front of their face,
which is I think wrong because I think
I agree with Jay. I don't think it needs to be male or female. I just think that if you're gonna say shit behind people's backs, you need to have the balls to say it to their face too.
But I think that you should have. I think that you should have said it in front of their face. If it's someone that you truly care about, you should have already said it to them before you're talking to other people about it. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. If you care about them like that,
that's something that you should have already. Like for example, I'll talk about Rodolfo with anybody all day, but anything I'll ever say to anybody is because I've already said it to him the moment he told me it. And that's because with someone like that, I have no filter with. I'm going to tell him exactly how I feel and what I think is best for him, right? Because it's someone I care about.
No,
and
that's fine.
Yeah, right?
That's fine. That's fine.
And that's why I'm saying that I feel like it's not like you should be ready to say it right away. I feel like you shouldn't have said it in the first place if you haven't even related it to that person before.
No, I agree with you. But that's why I said I don't think a guy should gossip, period. But if you do that, we better make sure you say that to the person that immediately
go
after.
Into that, but that can be our last little subject. We're here at 2 hours. Nobody should fucking gossip, man, right? Like,
forget that, bro. That's not gonna happen.
But like, think about it.
Women thrive on chaos, bro. Like they literally thrive on chaos.
I wouldn't
this
say
is what
women.
They're gonna do.
This gossip has been something ingrained in us since like the passing of time. Like even before written history, this is how we just passed information. It was idle chatter. Like even before language, that's how we told about other dangerous places. Like it's just something in our lizard brain.
That's the thing. Guys talk about other dangerous places. Women talk about other dangerous people.
Bro, men gossip too. I don't know what you're talking
about. Men gossip. Those are usually not men.
The thing is, women think that men don't gossip.
See, but
they're wrong there too because
get in the game chat and you'll hear all the bullshit. It's just online. We call it bullshitting, but it's actually just gossip. Like
I've seen girls post online talking about, oh, I wish girls weren't so like gossipy. Guys don't look like they're very gossipy.
Well, guys don't usually talk about people as much. Guys don't usually care about things more than
you ain't ever had a dude come into the guy group and be like, yo, so this chick that I'm banging, like she did this and this and this. Like that's gossip.
Now see, here's the thing. See, here's the thing that I dislike And it's like this. When the couples get together and then they're pouring shit on each other, when they get mad at each other, and then they're back together. That's fucking disrespectful as hell.
That's the first thing my father told me. He said that one of the biggest rules I want to tell you, because he's noticed how it's, starting to become long term with Emily. He said, never catch yourself talking shit
about your woman. Never. Unless you've broken up and you need a friend to vet out and say, these are the reasons why I broke up. And not talking shit, but like actually logically place the reasons why. Or you're talking to
your friend, you're saying, well, this and this is happening in the relationship. Correct. But like going out and talking shit about, like, she's this dumb bitch or she's an unfaithful hoe. And,
not even that, bro. Like, I don't think you should talk about your significant other to anyone at all besides the significant other. Like, if you have a problem with them, like, yo, listen. Like, when they start getting like, yo, you need to stop. This is what it is. And if you don't like that, I understand. You have a life and I have a life. That's it.
I don't necessarily think that's true, because I feel like for example, I'll bring up Rodolfo again. When I have conversations with him, they're proactive. They're not in any way bad.
Rodolfo is a guy. Like, you have to talk. You talk to guys differently than you talk to girls.
But that's what I'm saying. You're still talking about your relationship with another person. You know what I mean?
Yes, but with Rodolfo, you talk differently with Rodolfo than you would talk to Emily. Because Rodolfo will get you from half a word because he's a guy. With Emily, you might need to sit down and give a 45-minute dissertation why this needs to be this way, right? Like, because we communicate on a different levels. Like, we communicate about completely different things. Like, you'll be able to describe this computer hella quick to someone very fast because you're interested in computers. You're interested in things. But she'll be able to describe a person to you because they're interested in people.
That's one funny thing when you tell somebody, like an older person, something about a computer, and you tell them everything real quick. They're like, "What the fuck did you just say?"
Yeah, because they just don't know, right? Like, they don't know. But that old person will give you a dissertation about a FM or AM radio or how the wavelengths work.
So you agree it's just lack of knowledge. It has nothing to do with sex.
It's a lot. About things.
Lack of knowledge. It's just the same because of what people are interested in, right?
People on average are very similar. There's only maybe like a 10% deviation from a norm, even if that. People are very similar in our wants and needs, our major, like, we are very, very similar, women and men. Like, there's not much deviation from that. This is why I say life is very easy. You just have to understand the rules of life, and then you're also allowed to play within those rules with your own rules. And that's it. Like, it's kind of like game of chess. Life is game of chess. You have the rules of life, and they're already drawn out for you. This box has these rules, and then you can create your own little rules within those rules.
On how you live.
There's people playing chess. There's like I said earlier. There's people playing checkers. Some people don't use that system to their advantage.
Some people are on idle games.
Yeah, that's called delusion.
I'm playing Balloon Tower Defense.
Shit. You're playing Mayan chess.
Mayan chess.
I saw that the other day. It's pretty cool, actually. It's like this game that they had, like, it's Mayan. They call it Mayan chess. It's like, I think it's 3 or 4 figurines. Different sides are like shaved off, and you can only make these type of moves, and then your king has to make it to a certain point, or things like that. So it's pretty cool.
So we got our past our 2-hour mark for today, boys. I think we can call it.
It's been a good pod.
Yeah, it's been a good pod, boys. So real quick before we end the night, shout out everybody in the chat: Natalie, Alejandro, Emily, and my family, everybody who came in, Calvin. Thank you guys for joining us. Damaris,
Alejandro.
So you guys, if you guys didn't notice, we got some new lights here to behind the couch. And then
we might be getting some more.
Yeah, we might get some more. And so today, I know we had talked about we were gonna have in Lazarito, a friend of ours that works as an EMT. He got called in for a shift today for work, so he's going to be here next Tuesday. We'll have him on next Tuesday. He's already like called off for vacation or something like that, he said, so for sure he's good for Tuesday.
Sweet.
Sounds good.
Besides that, I think that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Episode 60, GhettoRig. Appreciate all of you. Love you in the chat. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.
Good night.
Peace.